What's going on?
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear now.
Yes.
You can hear me?
Okay, everyone should be able to hear me. They're all saying in chat that there was no audio, so that's good. I know what it was.
Hello.
It was a button on my end. But Chris could hear me. Yes, I can hear you, Andy.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you,
Great.
Ian. Yep, we're all good.
Lovely.
And
Hello, guys.
I've already checked out Chris's mic, so he's all good. So yeah, we should be all good. Sorry about the light on me today, but I've had to put an LED light so that I've got my overhead camera working for
just
today.
say you're glowing, Ranzee. That's all. You're glowing.
Yeah, I'm shiny.
Glowing today.
It's not sweat. I swear to God, that is not sweat. That's just I've just got a shiny forehead. It's a shiny forehead, everybody.
Shiny.
So today, as you guys all everyone knows how to read. We all went to school. We are going to be doing a SmplTrek party, and I've got mine set up here. Right. So there is the SmplTrek, yes, and you can see that's a zoom, not the same camera, but that's a zoom. Okay, so that is a live zoom.
That's
so
really
we're gonna do some cool stuff there. And we're also going to show you what it looks like when you plug it into Ableton and things like that. So that's all going to happen today. And yes, it's all connected. You'll be able to hear it soon. In fact, I can play a string sound from it if you like. If you like. There you go.
Very nice. Very stringy.
Bet you didn't think a sampler would sound like that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's got a really good... It's got a really good sound. It's really good.
Ranz, look.
Ooh, let's go full screen on Mr. Brooksy's pile of bubbles. You haven't even opened it yet. You silly bugger.
I've only just got it.
Wow.
I've had to go to FedEx to pick it up because they've been twice in the week and I've not been in, so I've had to go to the depot to get it. So the depot shut at 12 o'clock. I just about made it in time, and there I've got it. They didn't even want me to pay the tax, which was exciting. No doubt I'm going to get a bill through the post for the tax on it. So far I've not paid the import tax. So, but I've got it.
You can ignore
it's
that,
not even open.
Surely.
Well, say again, Ian.
I can only see myself at the moment.
You can ignore that.
Ranzee, by the way.
Just ignore.
I can ignore it.
You can ignore tax letters.
That's bad.
Probably. Yeah. Well, yeah. Probably not wise, if we're being honest. So I'll. When it comes, I can probably go and do it online and just say and pay it because I suspect it's the sort of thing they will pursue. So
yeah, I don't know.
It just means
I've never had one, so I don't know.
No, when Brexit first happened, I got a few from Torman, which was frustrating, and then that stopped, and I think Torman had got their side of things sort of sorted out. So, anyway, there we go. So I've got it. I've just not opened it. So I've got my knife ready.
Well, we can do an unboxing. Wow.
Yeah, I can't find my Stanley knife anywhere. I don't know where on earth it's disappeared to. That's really frustrating as well. But
I don't get it, but I got mine, and where's my camera here? And it's all wrapped up in bubble wrap, but I got a little dent in the box. Even yeah. So I would envisage that something's got through the bubble wrap to do that, because there's no way I'd believe that would be like that from the factory. But yeah. FedEx, FedEx. What is up with FedEx? FedEx, if you're watching, you need to give yourselves a backhand across the back of your head. I got no notification saying, "Yep, it's on. It's you know how they say it's on courier and out for delivery." And so you go, okay, cool. And then they say, right, it should be there by 10 p.m. I'm like, are you serious? Do I have to literally hang about my house just in case? Because they said on the thing that they won't deliver it if I'm not there. So anyway, I'm waiting all day. That's 10 p.m. 10 p.m. gets past, and then I'm refreshing the thing, and it said, it's like literally a week later, the date changed. I'm like, what? I didn't read that date wrong. What the hell was going on? You guys are playing buggeries with me. So so then I thought, okay, fine. You guys want to hold on to my parcel for a week and play samples with it? I don't care. But what was then weird was that date stayed a week later. So technically I shouldn't still have it because it's not Monday yet. But I got it the next day. So
and it just happened to be in.
You wouldn't want to be banking off those clocks, put it that way.
Yeah, I think
Robbie
had a similar experience.
Yeah, Robbie did.
Sorry. Yeah, he said it was.
No,
he said
you
his
found
order had
it,
been
so-
cancelled, and then it turned up.
Yeah. I mean, we've had these sort of, not only with FedEx, but actually all these sort of couriers. We have, if we're looking at on our account for one particular courier, there is still an outstanding transaction. I know the customers had the goods from about 5 months ago. I can't cancel the actual how it appears, but the customer's got it. I'm happy, he's happy, but actually it still says that it's on its way. And you sort of get that sort of stuff there, and that's not the only one.
Well, it seems to me that DPD are the ones that seem to be the most reliable at the moment.
Definitely.
We don't have
they always seem to bring it exactly when they say they will, which is quite cool. Anyway, Chris, hi.
Hello, Chris, by the way. Yeah, good to meet you.
Seeing you on both the Pro Synth Network things, it was really cool. So it's great to see you here.
So when I do that, Chris can't see us, but it looks better for us because he's full screen in that little square down there. So that's okay. I'll pop it back to there. Actually, what does that look like? Yeah, that's actually probably better, but probably not good for Chris. I think Chris probably prefers that.
Yeah, I can see you when it's like this.
Yeah. Well, when it's him doing stuff, though, he'll just be admiring himself. So that's good. It's really good to have Chris on because for those who don't know, Chris is actually a really good person to demonstrate these products because he actually does a bit of work for Sonicware. And he was, really big behind the whole SmplTrek development and some of their other products as well. So it's awesome to have him. Now, I just want to double check to see if Mr. Robbie Furicelli is waiting in the background. I think he is. He's probably thinking, come on, Ranz, put me in.
No, don't let him in. Don't let him in.
Put me in.
Sick of seeing him.
Boy, cold.
I know, he's got my card mark now.
Hello, friends. How you doing?
Right now, so let's put this view up for Robbie. He'll just be seeing us down the bottom, but that's all right because I'm mixing vMix with StreamYard and it's becoming very strange for you guys. But trust me, everyone else will see brilliance. Now if I put Robbie there, and then I go there, everyone can see Robbie full screen. Say hello, Robbie.
Hey. Hello. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It's daytime. I haven't been out of bed long. No, my wife put Kill Bill on. Kill Bill Part 2 on last night. It was on Channel 5. And it didn't finish until 3 o'clock this morning. And I can't not watch Kill Bill. So, I'm a bit tired.
Yeah, I'm the same with Kill Bill. That's an awesome movie. Or the series. The two. Now, you look a little bit like you've been visiting Donald Trump and got some bronze on you. Maybe you've seen the tanning salon or something. It's not you, trust me. It's something weird going on with my capture card. It's weird, but it's okay. It's not your end. That's all I can say. I'm looking at the laptop screen.
It's got a healthy button.
Yeah. You don't need to change at your end. We can go to there anyway. It's good to see you anyway, and it's good to have you. And you've got your SmplTrek handy as well. Yeah, hey, look at that in all its goodness. Yes, fantastic. Now, there's no way I can split the screen of you two. So when we're sort of doing things, we put our vMix callers in, we have to kind of do that for now. I mean, I can go full screen. But you guys see yourselves, and then I go to that, and you guys can see us. So it'll have to do. It will have to do. But the good news is we can always swap around and play. And the other good thing is that it doesn't absolutely rampage my internet connection here, which is a cool thing. I could have more callers in. Right. Okay.
Can I just make a quick announcement?
Of course.
Happy birthday, Kent Spong.
Oh yes,
happy birthday, Kent Spong.
Happy birthday to Kent.
To you.
Happy birthday to
Very nice.
To Kent. Happy birthday,
Please
dear.
bend
Wait,
my
hang on,
We
I've
need
got my own
Marilyn.
there.
We need Marilyn singing it, don't
Happy
we?
birthday to
Birthday
Ken. That's the wobbly oscillator.
Dearie me. You guys
What a
are
wanker.
shoppers.
Yeah.
Now, there is one more person due to come in, and that is Andy, Synth Addict. He's going to come in. But what I might do, Darren's decided he doesn't want to be in, so we will put the chatties in his spot. Oh, he's spat the dummy. He said, I don't have a SmplTrek. I think he's jealous, guys. He's in chat, by the way.
I haven't got one, and I'm jealous.
Yeah, but you didn't spit the dummy. You held your cool.
No, that's true. I didn't. I actually said to Jane last night, I've really missed the boat on this one. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
He's
you can still get one.
Couldn't Robbie or Chris come in on Darren's?
It's better if I've got him in that way, because their video will look nice and sharp. Trust me, and they're set up. They're used to doing it this way, so it's going to work. In a wing and a prayer, it'll work. Now, what should we do? Should we start the show? I think we should start the show. Everyone ready? Synthetic will just turn up when he wants to turn up, because it's probably just hit 5 a.m. He's
still asleep.
Yeah, bless him. Yeah.
His alarm's just going off now. Why don't we press this button? Sample Geekery is probably more like it for this week. Episode 188. I couldn't find a synth that had that. Someone might want to tell me in chat. Nice to have you here. It's a beautiful Saturday where I live. We had something like 28 degrees here, sunshine. Took the kids to the beach today. Awesome. And here I am back in the studio with some awesome people. We've got Ian, Andy, soon to be here will be Synthetic. We'll say hello to him in a minute. And we also have, over on the StreamYard connection, we have Robbie Puricelli and Chris Dodsworth. Chris, do you want me to call you Chris Dodsworth or Chris Lodi? What do you prefer?
Either's fine.
Just
Tracy at the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't call you late for dinner. That's the old saying. Yeah. Fantastic. Now, for those who don't know, Robbie, he runs an awesome YouTube channel called Pro Synth Network, which you can see on his shirt there. So I'll just quickly go to the full screen of him. There we go. And he also is a brilliant man who does a lot of articles in, what is it, Sound on Sound and things like that. So
yeah, Gear News.
Yeah, fantastic. It's good to have you, mate. And
good to be here. Thank you for having me.
We will press this button, and I'll swap Chris over. I've got to do this manually because I don't have buttons worked out yet. I've got to pick your brains, Robbie, about that, actually. And there's Chris.
Okay.
Hey, look at that. And he's full screen. He's seeing himself. Don't worry about that. Everyone just sees you. It's all good. So there's a nice little studio you got there, mate. I actually was checking it out the other day. You're starting to get a bit of collection of gear there.
Yeah. It's building up. So start to run out of room.
Yeah.
One of them.
Start migrating soon. Fantastic. Yeah, it's good to have you on. Do you want to just share with everyone just kind of your role with Sonicware? So
it's mostly sound design work and this kind of thing. Yeah, promotion stuff, and I do a bit of sort of paperwork behind the scenes and bug test stuff, and it's a mixture of things. It's mostly the sound design though. I mean, I did a lot of stuff on the Lo-Fi 12, building patterns and samples. You get the machine, it's completely empty. You just have to kind of decide what would be useful for people, when it ships, what would be on it, and just give feedback as the process goes along, things that aren't working properly and that kind of thing. Yeah,
that's awesome.
A mix of things. Yeah,
awesome. So just maybe I'll go back to this view here for everyone. Just so you guys know, in particular with this setup here, I paid for my SmplTrek. I believe Robbie paid for his as well. Andy paid for his, and also Broosky paid for his as well. So I would say Chris probably got given one because he's working for Sonicware. So just so you know that's where the commercialization of this is. Now, I actually set the show up. Sonicware did not approach me. I set this up on my own. So this is not going to be a commercial show where we've been told what to say or anything like that. This is really just true users of a device, asking questions, playing with them, and things like that. So, and it's good to have Chris here because we can pick his brains if we want to. And speaking of picking brains, we should be able to talk to the chatties. I think it's this button. Big hello to all the chatties who have jumped in. Jesus, a lot of you. It's awesome to see. Typical Saturday where everyone's jumping on. So I'll just randomly say hello to a few people. Kev Human, I think, was probably one of the first in. Big hello to you. Prometheus, UK. He's saying boo to everyone. Roy's there. Big hello to Inverted Popes. Chob's there. One of our channel members. Awesome to have you. Wagoo's there as well. Big supporter of the show since day dot. Big thanks to Daniel. He's really cool. Martin Taylor. Keith in Watford. Who just recently had a birthday too, I believe. So big hello to you as well. John Simpson. Who else we got? Heathcliff. And he's saying he's catching the show live for the first time, and it's 6:45 a.m. here. Now, I'm guessing that he's on the east coast of the US or somewhere around there, or maybe mid-central, maybe central. I'm not sure. Actually, it's probably more like central, isn't it? Trying to work out time zones. Yeah. Anyway, so if I've missed a few of you, I do apologise because it's just scrolled off again. It's gone crazy. But you guys can see yourselves there. Big hello. Thanks for joining us all. Now we'll go back to here. We're going to have a square up the top until Slumberman turns up. And in the meantime, we're going to say hello to, starting off with Ian today.
Hey,
hello, Ian.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I had a good week, really. I put a video out on Monday, launched an album yesterday, and thank you very much, Andy Brooks, for actually buying it. And Paul Altera, I can't even pronounce his surname. Artola, sorry.
Paul Artola.
So it's out on Bandcamp now, and it's free to download, or you pay what you like. And It's a Christmas album.
Oh,
so
I have to go and check that out.
It's all jingle. No, there's no jingle bells. Well, so, but no.
Ian does a proper canny Bing Crosby impersonation, though. It's really cool.
I do, yeah. I've got David Bowie involved.
I recommend
as well.
that.
I'm like,
they're all.
I can guarantee
they're all
there's
so well done. It's not Christmassy in that sense at all. It's beautiful what you've done, Ian. I have to say that.
Thanks, Andy. I mean, it's not. There's no cheese there, is there? Really? It's just.
No, not at all. It's definitely not Christmas cheesy. No, it's Christmas. It's quality Christmas. Really good.
Thank you.
Really recommend it.
Thank you.
Get over to Ian's Bandcamp and get it yourself. Chuck in a few quid if you can spare. It's worth it.
If you can't, just take it.
I'll get the screen up in a bit later for you so they can have a look at it too.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic. And as you saw, Brooksy's here. Big hello to you, mates. Nice to see you again.
Hello everyone. Yeah, what a funny week it's been this week. I've had all sorts of hassles this week. They're ongoing, but it's all still to do with when I had that car crash in August, and I'm still driving around in the hire vehicle because it's not all sorted. So I've had all sorts of shenanigans like that. It was all looking like I was going to be without a car. They were going to come and pick it up on Saturday morning, and well, actually, we managed to avoid that through some careful negotiation and stuff. But it's ridiculous that I'm having to do all this running around when it wasn't my fault, when I was hit from behind by a bloody great big truck. But anyway, so because of that, I had to withdraw from the Sheffield EMOM on Thursday, which I was gutted about, really, because I'd just not had a chance to get myself sorted. I thought I'm not just going to turn up and hope it's all going to work. I need to do a bit of, so I had to speak to Brawny, who organises it, and say I'm really sorry, but I'm just not going to be able to do it. But hopefully I'm going to be okay for Derby this coming Thursday. I hope so. Anyway, I hope so.
Good, fantastic. You actually sound a lot healthier, I would say, in a nice way. this week?
Actually, I am a lot clearer. My chest a lot clearer. My head, my nose, everything it's just decided to clear itself up. Thank heavens, because I've been crap for ages. I mean, I might get a week before it all starts again. That seems to be the pattern. I'll enjoy my root health while I've got it.
Fantastic. Right, so we're waiting on Synthetic, but in the meantime, what I want to mention is if you guys do have a question, probably more so for Chris than anyone else because he's probably a man in the know, please do highlight my name so that I see it in the chat, and then like Martin Taylor's done, I'll pop it up here and we can ask questions during the show at random points without any notice. So Martin's, this one's for you, Chris. Martin has asked, why was SmplTrek so late? Is it because the lo-fi was being produced at the same time? Is that possible?
Actually, there's two different development teams working on the two products. It's really the Lo-Fi 12 that was really late, whereas the SmplTrek was just a bit late. So about a year ago is when, as far as I'm aware, they started working on a new sample-based Liven, and I saw a completely different design to begin with that was due to come out, I don't know, about 6 months ago or so. And then at the last minute, I was about to be sent one, and then at the last minute that design was decided it wasn't really right, and they just went back to the drawing board. And I think they just, they didn't really want to release them at the same time. It just happened to fall like that. So the SmplTrek was full steam ahead, and the Lo-Fi 12 was really kind of a background project. It just so happened that it kind of slipped later and later and later, and they came out at more or less the same time. Not the plan. Not the plan at all.
Yeah, because it kind of came across to me like the Lo-Fi 12 is part of that Liven group, which has the same sort of form factor and design and everything. Yeah. And the SmplTrek is more, it's more a new product on its own, So
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
People are forgetting what it looks like. That's what it looks like there, and it's the other ones are a lot wider and in comparison. So this thing's quite tiny. Like my hand just about covers the whole thing. It's quite a tiny thing.
It's about half Liven size.
It is exactly half Liven size.
Mm.
Yeah, fantastic. We should probably put Robbie back in again. There he is there.
Actually, can I have a quick question with Chris? I haven't. He and I speak all the bloody time. I've never asked this. If I opened up a Liven, should I say if I opened up multiple Livens, am I going to see the same stuff inside? Is it all basically software?
It is. Yeah, it's a platform designed to be redeveloped through software into different products. Yeah. Cool. So that's the part of the the plan from the beginning for the Livens was to make a platform and then make new versions of it to go along just to keep the price down, because a lot of the problems with gear being expensive comes from the fact that you have to produce new molds and new circuitry and get that tested, so they all have to pass safety tests.
Didn't say anything.
Across all different across all different regions of the world. So if you've only got to do that once, and then you can make multiple products on that, you can pass that on to the customer, and that's how they've managed to keep it at a reasonable price. Yeah.
Fabulous. Now, in the meantime, Brooksy's been opening his, and I thought we'd share that with the world. This is an unboxing. Everyone loves an unboxing, surely. Jeez, it came out of there like a... No more jokes. I'm going to try and be sensible tonight. Brooksy, you're muted. Why are you muted? Why did you mute all of a sudden?
Because Robbie was talking. Robbie was talking. I was making a lot of rustling, so I thought I'll mute that. So
you're a nice lad.
Here we go.
You are a nice lad.
Yeah.
So
I do take him into consideration. Even well, they didn't time it perfectly. They tried to deliver it on Tuesday and Wednesday, but I wasn't here. So I've got a little thank you card. That's very kind. Very thank you. It's got numbers on the back, and is that my serial number? All right, that's that. And then
it's a promo for Loop Cloud. Yeah.
Oh, is it? All right,
we're going to talk about Loop sample sites later on as well.
Some stuff in a bag. You guys all know what it is.
Probably the power supply.
That looks like the power supply.
The stuff in the bag is all the little connectors for it.
Oh, is it?
So you'll have your your UK one in there. But the cool thing about it is if you hold on to those others and you do travel, you can actually, you can plug it into Singapore, into the US.
It's got the different ones in there.
You can come down here and plug it in.
Excellent. So that's those super duper. And the piece of resistance itself.
Brilliant packaging, by the way.
It is well packaged. Yeah, actually.
Look, for a Kickstarter, this is top notch. This is very professional. I mean, I've backed a lot of Kickstarters over the years, and you just get like a plain cardboard box with a bit of bubble wrap and the things in it. This thing has been done professionally, absolutely professionally.
So what's this? This is an important safety and warranty.
Yeah, not much to do in that. Throw that over your shoulder.
No manual. No manual. Oh, have I got to download a PDF off the website?
Yes,
you do.
It's on the card.
Yeah, right. You do. Yep.
Which has been updated, by the way, just recently. The manual. More information in the manual now.
Excellent.
When you say recently, Chris, do you mean in the last week? Or
actually, it might not be available to the public yet. I think I've got a preview of it.
Okay.
It's about to drop when the new firmware comes out.
I've got my first grumble. It doesn't have a thing on the screen to peel off, or does it?
Yes, it does.
No,
it does. Yeah,
it does. And I peeled mine off today as well.
Obvious.
Yeah, you have to kind of.
It's just not got a little tab on the corner that you put. Oh, right, okay. Because that's always a pleasure when you take the.
Yep.
So there we are, folks. Got it out of the box.
I'm still on.
Yay!
I took mine off because when I did this shot, it looks so clear with the little film on it. With that sort of zoomed in one, it just looks so nice and crisp. By the way, that just goes to show you how good the OLED display is, because I have zoomed into literally the proverbial. Like, that screen is not much bigger than my fingernail, right? That just goes to show you how actually crisp that screen is. It's actually a decent colour as well. Now, while Brooksy's doing that, they did pop a question in, so I'll bring that up. And that was from Petched. Sorry if I've mangled your name there. Is there an equivalent of the Akai S612 start-stop slider on the Lo-Fi? This one will be for Chris, so we'll go to Chris.
I don't know what the Akai start-stop slider is. Can anybody explain that? Can you?
Yeah, so on the Akai S612, you had just two sliders, and you just edged one in from the left to get your sample start point and one in from the right. So the answer to your question is yes, the Lo-Fi 12 does have an equivalent, except it's rotary, not sliders. But yeah.
By the way, that's as quick as I can get you guys to swap screen. So I literally was like...
We'll try and make it as hard for you as possible. Sorry.
Yeah, that is fine. I enjoy it.
Yeah, there we go. So that's... the sample editing.
Hang on a sec, Robbie's showing.
Level.
Let me just get the focus. There we go. So
why are you not doing that? There we go.
Just there. Oops. I'll do this back to front. So start and end, and then of course you've got other bits and bobs and the loop points as well. So this is all, and that's the overlay.
That's the overlay. Gotcha.
And that's the Spanish version.
Hey.
We
won't say words. Yeah. Fantastic. Friend-blimentastic. Right.
So I have a question. And I'm not sure whether it's for Chris or whether it's for Robbie. But when I spend my hard-earned cash on one of these devices, whether it be the Lo-Fi 12 or the SmplTrek, which should I buy?
Well, that's a very good question.
Depends.
Yeah.
It's the short answer.
Sorry, Chris.
So the Lo-Fi 12 is kind of very old school. You're working with very short samples. They're obviously low quality, hence the name. Yeah. And it's very old school workflow. You've obviously only got a 4-character display, so everything's just done on that tiny little LED display, quite knobby. And then the SmplTrek is very much a song building tool. It's the official line is portable production sampler, so it's very much about building tracks up from loops and long audio recordings, so the workflow is very different. So it would depend what you want. Is the answer really?
I want the second. I want the sample track. You've just nailed it for me. Thank you.
Yeah. You'll probably be able to work out from watching tonight and today for you guys. You'll probably be able to work out which one is more suitable for you. I mean, I
certainly for me that's. I mean, I sort of. I apologise for the question. It was, but
no problem.
I was leading towards the sample track, but I there was some confusion in my head as to whether I wanted the Lo-Fi 12, and the sample track is the thing for me.
It is, yeah. SmplTrek's very familiar to anybody that's familiar with modern DAWs, like piano roll interface, send effects. The Lo-Fi 12 actually, if you took a tracker style editing working process and took the screen away, that is pretty much your experience. You've got mostly a single sample per track that you can switch, which is very much tracker-like, and sort of a step sequencer that you can nudge the notes around within, whereas the SmplTrek's very much a more modern approach, I think, the way I'd think about it.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that. I'm trying to get Robbie in.
What are you trying to say?
Should we just move over a bit?
You've been cropped, Robbie, and I don't like cropping, Robbie. It's not nice. It's not a nice thing to do.
If I lean in that one, maybe.
That's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. I'll take a little bit off Chris, and there we go. That's a bit nicer. I just don't like cropping, Robbie. Fantastic. Okay, so what I thought we'd do, now generally what we would do normally on this show is we would start our regular segments, and we would go through that for the next hour probably. But I know that everybody is probably like, Ranz, stuff the regular segments, let's get our fingers dirty, let's do this sample track stuff, because that's really probably why everyone's here. It might be the odd straggler who's like throwing this at the screen right now, saying, "No, I want my regular segments." Well, I'm gonna do the regular segments, but a little bit later on, just for the ease of people. So, what I thought we'd do first is maybe just get Chris. Do you want to go first? I thought maybe that might be a better plan.
Oh dear.
Or do you want me to go first? What do you want to do?
Yeah, have you got something planned that you'd like to show? You got a project loaded up there.
I've got a really bad thing here. Yeah, I mean I can show my really bad thing.
Yeah, go with that first.
Okay, good, because
I've specifically got a project lined up to show the looper function as it's been added back into the new firmware.
Yeah,
and that's
all right.
That's basically all I've had time to prepare.
Well, we do want to see that. We do want to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go across to here. Now, Robbie, I know you're also probably going to get your overhead cam working, because I know you've got some fantastic stuff there as well. So we'll definitely do that with you as well. But just for me, I've only had this literally not even a week yet, as I mentioned before. So I've been playing with a few ideas, and you can see I'm already up to project 5. So I've probably had a couple of projects in here already. One thing I would probably say just off the get-go, being a noob at this, I don't know if I can behave with this like I do with an MPC. So if you want to do some sort of complex type arranging on this, I don't know if you're going to have a lot of fun. I think this is more of an immediate type sampling and jamming type groove box. I think that's probably more of a fairer description of it. So yeah, if you really wanted to sort of like pull this apart and get sort of nerdy with the arranging on it, I think you'll probably it'll fall short with some of them features. But having said that, why don't we go back here? So we go function there. Cool. So what I've done here is this is a really, really great project that I have done. You guys are going to absolutely be blown away. Sarcasm. I wanted to show a couple of features off first with this. I'm going to show another project in a sec which will show different features, but generally speaking, what you can see here is the first track is a loop track. I haven't got any drum tracks in here, and I've done that purposely because we're going to show drum tracks in a sec. And then I've got 3 instrument tracks, and the reason why I want to show you this specifically first is because when you've got instrument tracks, it's actually really cool because you can then pop on over to your favorite DAW and click on there and zoom in so you guys can see, and you can literally just set your MIDI channel to go to SmplTrek, and you can play those instrument channels just like this. There's the bass, that's the second instrument. So you don't need to see me changing MIDI channels, right? You guys can trust me, right? So that's the second instrument that you're seeing there. In fact, if I go to this view, you guys will see, there you go, you see that playing the second instrument, then the third instrument. Isn't that cool? And then the fourth instrument. Now, one thing that I noticed off the get-go was the actual sound quality of this thing straight away blew me away. I was expecting it to be not that fantastic, but this is, I would say this is professional enough for most, pretty serious sample people that they want to come in and produce something. I really dig some of the effects in here, and you guys just heard that really long tailing reverb. That's one of them. Anyway, so we'll go back to here. So let's play this. Shut up, Ranzee, and play your stupid project. It's going to sound naff, I'm warning you right now, but we'll talk about it in a sec. Here we go. That's it, pretty quick. But the cool thing about it is if you turn launch off and then you go into any one of the scenes here, so for example, I want to do the third scene, it will launch the third scene if you press play. And then you can actually go into the mixer section. You can mute stuff. You can mute tracks, and all sorts of cool things can happen in there. If it was actually playing. Here we go. I think it started again. So you can see I'm a bit of a noob at this. But there you go. So there's a really, really quick overview. Now, that only took me probably 30 minutes to put together. And the easiest part of that, I guess, for you guys was that... probably Chris didn't see any of that. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, that's right. I've got the YouTube stream on my other screen.
Yeah.
Back up.
But the cool thing about that is that it was really, really easy to put together. So in my sort of simple mind, I guess you'd like to say, I thought, wow, what's a quick way to get something, just to show on the stream. Some instruments that I can record with MIDI, and I've got my keyboard below me here, as I was showing you guys before. I didn't have to record them on here. If I could use this as a keyboard, but I just find it nicer to have a proper keyboard and use that. Yeah. And the loop drum track was very easy for me because all I had to do was just go into my pool. So I've gone in and loaded up quite a bit of stuff on my SD card. So you go into your pool, that one there. And you can just really easily find gear. So I've loaded it up with a lot of stuff, loop masters, SID samples, all sorts of stuff, right? So that's only just a real quick demo of what I've done so far. And yeah, really, really impressed. I will show you guys something else a bit later, which I've been mucking around with. To sort of show you some of the little things that I've had some trouble with, but we've got Chris here, so he can put it straight, whether it's a I'm going to fix it thing, or whether it's a bug that I found, or whether it's just me being stupid. Probably the last, I would say. Probably the last. But yeah, as I mentioned before, if you guys have questions as we're going through this, please highlight my name at Ranzee and chuck your questions in, and then I'll be able to keep an eye on the chat and pop them up in a bubble, and we can talk as we go. I really don't mind if you guys randomly chuck the questions in. We're more than happy to sort of field them as we go, because I kind of see, I think you guys are just going to see a lot of stuff. You probably watched the Pro Synth Network live stream. I think, when was that, Robbie? It was about a week ago now, wasn't it, when you guys did that?
Yeah, it was a week or two, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, and there's been some videos out since then. Some of the big YouTubers have been putting videos out. Really good one to watch was the Cuckoo one. I thought was really good. I enjoyed that. Because, I'll tell you why I enjoyed it. Because he sang into the microphone built into this thing. And then he used that sample to produce something I thought was, really quite professional. Really quickly too. So it just goes to show, and he only had it he was one of the earlier beta testers, I guess, YouTubers. They had it probably a couple of weeks before the Kickstarters got it, right, Chris? Would that be correct?
I wouldn't know exactly when he got it, but yeah, I'm sure he got it shipped to him before the backers started receiving theirs,
Yeah. So they'll probably they would have had about a month, I guess, to play with it or something.
I think it was a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Cool. Now, Robbie, I'm going to go to you because I can. Now, you're the same as me and Brooksy, and also Andy Synthetics, who's turned up as well. But you've had yours a little bit longer because you're one of the first or the early backers, right?
Yeah.
Let us know a little bit about your thoughts, and have a chat about it.
So I love it. I mean, I really do, and I'm not just saying that because Chris is here. And the guys have done a great job on coming up with something that is, it's not groundbreakingly new. All the things that this can do, other things can do. They've just come up and put it into a really nice package. And I'm not a mobile music maker much. I used to travel a lot, and so therefore I would take a laptop and a controller or something. I can see if traveling, this would be fantastic because it really is like an all-in-one sort of thing. The quality of the build is fantastic. The quality of the internals is just superb, as you've mentioned already. The sound quality is great. The effects are great. Is it 100% there? No, we know that. And they delayed the shipping of this because they were finding little things, and what's left is minor stuff. I mean, I found a couple of bugs. One that was not life threatening, but it was. But it's been dealt with within days of me reporting it. I think probably within 2 or 3 days, that bug has been fixed in a beta version of the firmware that I've just been testing. So they're really hot on the heels, and Endo-san has just been fantastic in his enthusiasm and response to get this thing right. But it's not one of those. I mean, I hate buying stuff and becoming a beta tester. Obviously this is a Kickstarter project, so you can cut them a bit more slack than normal. But this is not an unfinished product out of the box, as I'm sure Andy will attest to, Mr. Brooks and the other Andy. Out of the box, you're straight away making stuff, and it's a very familiar. It feels familiar. There is as with all Sonicware stuff, there's a bit of a learning curve, but it's not as steep or complex as say XFM, which was a little scary to start with.
Yeah, that was hard for me.
Yeah,
I had trouble with that.
But they're clearly learning. This is the great thing that I get from Sonicware, is that in all my communications with them, they are taking everything on board. Not just in terms of bugs, but also in terms of usage. And if you're ever lucky enough to get hold of a Lo-Fi 12, you'll see that straight away, because the use of it has been much improved. But yeah, back to the SmplTrek. I mean, it is just stunningly good, incredibly well built. The pads, the actual the drum or the finger pad, shall we call them, are very responsive, very sensitive. So you can get some real nuance in there, and I love. I've never really got into Ableton Live, with scenes and clips and all that kind of stuff.
I love that.
Yes, it never really melded with my brain. It doesn't work. My brain doesn't work the way Live works. I'm not saying Live is fantastic. Clearly, it just didn't work for me. This has an element of Live about it in terms of its clips and scenes. And this just kind of works a little better. It's kind of a nice mix of the two kind of worlds, I guess.
Bit of logic, isn't it? There's a bit of logic in there. Yeah. And also they've rotated it, right? It's kind of live is kind of vertical, and this is horizontal. Yeah.
So no, it's really good stuff. And what I found the last few days, because I've had it here next to me, and sort of like when I've had a spare 5 or 10 minutes, I'll sort of go to it, open up a project again, add a little thing to it, and I'm learning the flow quite quickly, which for an old boy is not too bad. I'm quite impressed with that. But things like the colouring, the way that some of the buttons light up different colours for different things. Like I didn't realise until a few days ago that when the stop button is yellow, it's kind of in audition mode, and then when it goes different colours, it's in record mode. And you can change those colours to suit as well in certain cases.
That's handy too.
And also editing notes on the piano roll. Obviously on a computer you just like click and drag. If you've just missed something or you want to set something off a little bit. This is a different method, but once you've kind of got used to that joypad method and just clicking and then hitting the button on the 16-step pattern selector, it becomes very easy. Once you've got it, it is a very intuitive workflow. So there's clearly a lot of thought gone into it. So I'm just, I'm bowled over by it, and I'm so happy I invested in it and got it at the I'd have paid full price for it, but I'm just it's brilliant.
It was a steal what we
really
got for it.
Enamored with it very much.
I definitely think it was a steal. You know what? While we've got you here, Robbie, I've sent Chris through this, so he can jump in anytime. We'll bring him in as well. But we should talk about some of the things that maybe issues or maybe just frustrations with, and they've been reported by lots of YouTubers. So Loopop, Bo Beats, Cuckoo mentioned some of these. So I've just gone through as many videos as I could have during the week and just watched and made some notes. So these are the things. So with drum kits, you can only have one drum track per scene, and so for me, what I can understand, and Chris and I had a bit of a chat about this during the week, this would probably be a limitation to the hardware. The reason why, because there's Chris? There's something like 16 samples, 2.5 second samples in that drum track.
That's right.
Yeah. So it has
15, I think, one per pad.
Yeah, one per pad, 15. So it loads those in. From what I understand, loads those into the system memory. Whereas the other samples, instruments and samples and loops and that, are streamed from the SD card. So this particular type of instrument, the drum track, the drum kit, is loaded into the system memory for the performance, right? I'm guessing that's the reason why.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been requesting more drum tracks. I haven't heard back from the engineers whether that's ever going to be possible yet, but it's there's something they're aware of. So it's been mentioned quite a lot. So, just have to see what they cook up.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
If they can do anything.
What I might do is I might bring you guys back like that. It's a bit nicer. Don't worry about the stuff disappearing into the background there. And then I can just do this, and you guys can watch me at the same time. There we go. It's a bit nicer. Okay. So the other thing with drum kits or drum tracks, as I mentioned before, they are limited to 2.5 seconds per pad or per sample. So when you're actually using the SmplTrek, you need to keep that in mind, because if you're loading a sample in that's longer than 2.5 seconds, it will truncate the end of that sample.
Yeah, it will chop the end off. That's right.
Literally chop it off. Now you can play with the sample and re-edit it and things like that, so it's not a problem. But once you first use it, that's one of the things that caught me, because this is actually not mentioned in the manual. So I would recommend that Sonicware do put that into the user manual. Cool.
Yeah, it's been added now in the updated version that's coming along. It's mentioned. There's a lot more details in there, actually.
Fantastic. The second one is the sample length limitation I mentioned before. Maybe I don't know. So maybe they need to. I don't know. Maybe it's a design thing, but maybe if they're streaming the samples from the SD card like the others, if that might be an option, and they might be able to then enable us to have more than one drum track. That could be. That's just a suggestion that one of the YouTubers mentioned. I think it was Loopop that mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not aware of the technical limitations of the hardware, but so like I say, we'll have to see what the engineers think and if they can come up with any creative solutions. But they are aware. More than one drum track would be nice.
About the sample length that you've just mentioned, because I wasn't aware of this. Did that mean the samples in the drum track are 2.5 seconds, or anything that it's even samples that it's streaming back from?
Oh no,
the SD card.
No, it's just the individual hits within a drum kit that you've, like a sample-based drum kit that you've built within a drum track, can be.
Okay. So anything else can actually, so you can put in longer samples. In the other tracks,
big long loops
tracks.
and
like
the globals are just
I thought
big long.
I thought you could, but
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Right.
Now we are getting questions as I'm trying my best to keep an eye on the chat as we go. And there was one that came in from Lisa. Big thank you to Inky the cat. There is a bug, she says, when you resample the drum track, it didn't sample and wiped the drums. There you go.
Was this maybe that the master wasn't being recorded when it was being resampled? That may be the issue that's been fixed in an update, or has that one already made it out? I don't know. I don't know if that one's coming in the 1.1 update that will be dropping next week.
Okay.
The master, when you selected that as an input source, wasn't actually being recorded. So that's probably that bug.
That could have been the reason. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, you can answer that if you remember. Okay, so getting out of the drum track. So the drum track is actually a really cool... By the way, I just... they're the only real big issues I've seen with it, but it's actually a really cool thing because it means that you've got one track that you can fire off up to 15 samples in. That can only be 2.5 seconds, but when you think about that, that's a hell of a lot of samples that you can cram in there. And it doesn't have to be drums, just because it's called a drum track. You can put tiny little sort of shots in there, little vocal acapellas or anything like that. You could put that in your drum track. And I'm actually going to show you guys what I've done with the drum track in a sec too, just to sort of get you guys to think outside the square. All right. The next thing is there's no global swing. Now, I can't remember the guy that mentioned this. He was one of the sort of American DJs who mentioned this on one of his videos. He was pretty upset about the fact that there's no global swing on the thing. Now,
Dave McCree, was it?
I think it might have been, yeah. Now, I kind of don't know if I agree with him because you do have micro timing on each of the tracks, so you can muck around like that. It might be a pain to do it. Maybe that's where he's coming from. Chris, is there any movement at the station on that one?
I think it might have just been an oversight. I'm hoping. All the other products Sonicware make have swing, so I don't think it just maybe just didn't get into this firmware in time.
Okay,
but I don't see any reason why they can't add that in.
Yeah.
Yes, like I think one of the things he also mentioned was the fact that there's no metronome available from the front screen. That's already
I'm about to get to that one. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We'll talk about it now. So the metronome is not accessible from the record menu. So basically, what I'll do is I'll cross down to and you can see what I'm talking about. So basically, for you to get to a metronome, you actually have to go into the system menu, like that, and then there's your metronome. Okay. So that's how you turn it on. You have to adjust it with the A knob because it says A volume, right? That's how you turn it on. Now,
that's changed then.
So I haven't done a firmware update on this since I've had this, but what a lot of people are saying that they would like to have is if you do go into a track, so there's an instrument track. I'm in the instrument track now. It would be nice if there was like a menu that you could enable the metronome from inside here. That's kind of what they're saying. So I'm not sure if that's on the cards or not, but that's kind of what most people mean.
It's done.
It's from the home screen. I can show you that if I just switch cameras.
Yeah. Let me go full screen on you.
It's a bit small and fuzzy, but
just give me a sec. There we go.
Okay.
You're in.
So now the little tempo context sensitive button below the screen has a little metronome next to it. So if we click here, we've got metronome on off from here, and that gives us our volume and pre-count. So it's just like one step away from the home screen.
That's good.
So that's something that was added just because of user feedback.
That's excellent. And that's what we're saying before about how quick they are at jumping onto stuff, which is really, really cool to see a developer do that. So awesome. All right. Global quantization is the other one. It's always on, apparently. So the only way you can get around that is to use the micro timing per sample. I'm thinking that this is by design in this particular case, because of the way I've seen it work.
You can do a similar thing as you can do on the live ones. You can crank up the value per step to 30 seconds instead of 16ths. So 16th is the standard, and the 30 seconds is like a higher resolution.
Yeah.
And then extend your pattern. But yeah, again, Sonicware are aware of people wanting an unquantized recording. So again, we'll have to wait and see what they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
and in that case
reported.
too, the new loop track could possibly be an avenue for them to do that, right? And on top of that, you've also got your global tracks too. You can record anything at any time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you say, the loop mode, it just records audio, so you could play something in and it would be captured exactly as it's played.
Yeah.
Because it's just an audio recording.
So I think people just need to think a little bit outside of the square, and they've got their ways around it. Yeah.
I can understand people.
Is there a maximum number of loop tracks? You know how there's a maximum number of instrument tracks? Is there a maximum number of loop tracks?
So you can have one drum track, 3 instrument tracks, I think, and then the rest can be any number. So
up to the maximum.
10 loop tracks or 10 MIDI tracks. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, let's keep going. Now, some of these things, like I said, they've been mentioned. I don't necessarily agree with them. They've said one person wanted to have, I think this is probably an MPC user here, right? No note repeats. I mean, you don't really hear that particular term. That's a real MPC term. I do like note repeats, by the way. And the other thing is, it's kind of related, is no arpeggiators. Now, I don't know personally if I feel that SmplTrek needs to have that, because it's got a really good MIDI implementation. So if you want to do things like note repeats or arpeggiators, you can bring that in via MIDI. You know, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a sec. It's really, really easy. Is there any movement about that, Chris?
I haven't heard anything about that. Actually, I think I only saw that comment about the lack of sort of ratchets and arpeggios yesterday. So I it didn't make onto the list that I sent over to the engineers. But yeah, and the live ones have an arpeggio mode, so
they do.
I wouldn't be surprised if they added that. Yeah, but I'm not sure about the ratcheting. I would like that.
Yeah, I
personally,
mean, it's a real MPC type thing, but also that electrons have got it, and they just call it different things, like you said, ratcheting.
Yeah.
What's the next one? Live editing whilst the scene is playing is quite limited. So yeah, that one was. I've noticed that straight away. So if you're trying to do stuff, it'll come up with a message on the screen saying that you can't do anything because it's playing or it's recording or something like that. So that one's going to come across quite a bit, I would imagine. Not really sure where to go with that because it's a pretty general comment, but I think if people just are aware of it, really. So there's limitations on what you can do while things are playing, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of free up the workflow generally as things develop. But again, it depends on the resources available within the machine as to whether any real changes can be made to that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Now, I will mention to everyone that I actually showed Chris this list because I didn't want to put him on the spot. So he's been given this. Just in case.
And I remember to read it.
You have to remember to read it. That's your problem now, Chris. Pitch changes on samples. Now, I think I wrote this one in here, and that's because I'm an idiot. Anyway, I wrote it on here, and it really it's a good point because it wasn't written in the manual. So, for those who want to know, pitch changes in the samples can be done in increments of 1 or 100, and I've written in here, what does that mean? Well, I know what it means now. It means cents. So it's like a cent of a semitone, or a tone, a cent of a tone.
Yeah.
So 100 is a whole tone. So I guess a semitone would be 50, right? And so you just do it that way. So that means that you've actually got 1/100th, pitch changing on your samples, which is actually pretty fine. It's pretty cool. But there is no mention of that in the manual, and it might be an idea for them to actually spell out that that's what that means.
I'm not sure I'm not sure that made it into the version 1.1.
Yeah.
Version, the manual that I've seen. I'll have to check. I can't remember. Yeah.
Because people will just keep asking you. You guys are going to get hammered with that question. What does that mean? What does 100 mean? It means sense, but some people it's obvious, some people it's not. Now, copy and paste is an interesting one that I came across quite a few of the videos that I watched. So you can copy and paste stuff, right? But there are things that you can't copy and paste. Like, for example, and I don't know if this has been changed or if I just haven't seen it or anything. So like I said, I'm a noob. But if I want to, for example, if I want to insert a scene, say in between 1 and 2, I would have to copy scene 2 and 3, and you know what I mean. I'd have to do this all sort of individually, which is a little bit of a frustration. So that's kind of where I think a lot of the people are going with that particular term. So I've written here, you can only currently copy an entire scene to another scene, and you can only copy a track to another track. However, you can't copy one track to another scene track, which I don't think is true. I think you can do that. I think you can definitely copy a track to another scene's track, as long as it's in the same
you can
track.
Shift stuff left to right, essentially. Yeah, but it's not quick and easy yet. I'm hoping that will get implemented in the future.
It's kind of like you kind of have to be a little bit more sort of prepared when you start putting your project together. You kind of have to think, okay, and that happened with me with this one. I actually started with this particular one. The strings, I came and decided to do that later, so I actually ended up moving scene 1 to 2 and scene 2 to 3. And yes, I had to do that painstakingly. It wasn't painstakingly; it took 2 seconds, but you have to do it, step by step. Is what we're saying.
You have to just understand the current workflow. Whereas it would be nice if there was just sort of one click insert scene into space.
Now, no copy and paste was said. Manual doesn't define sync rate. This was a good one. So I think I discovered this. So I was playing around with the BeatStep Pro, right, which I've got sitting here. And I decided I wanted to use the sync out on the back of this, right? And it definitely synced, but it played at an amazing rate. I think it was like 400 BPM or something crazy. It was like, like, whoa, what's going on here? So it'd be nice PPQ. To know.
It's like a drum and
is
bass.
It 24 PPQ? Is that the sync?
I don't actually know. I've not tried it. Idea. I was assuming it was the same as the live ones, which I think are 2 PPQ.
Yeah, so that would make sense because the BeatStep Pro is 24 PPQ. So that means that I was 12 times faster than what it should have been.
You were running the BeatStep Pro into the live and into the SmplTrek.
Yes.
Yeah, that would explain it then. Yeah, so it will be 2 PPQ, the same as the live ones, the same as the vocals.
That's not mentioned
in the default setting.
That is not mentioned in the album, so please put that in the album. What am I saying album for? Stop saying album. Manual. It's not mentioned in the manual. Please put that in the manual because I think that's important, especially for people who want to sync Eurorack. So, for example, with me, I went to the Pamela's new workout, and I just couldn't get the thing to sync to Pamela's new workout. So now I know I can put some settings into Pam's, and it'll work beautifully. Beautiful. Awesome. Yeah. That's not a criticism. It's just what the hell am I working with here?
Yeah,
nice to know.
Yeah, I think it's just based on what the live ones were based on, which is to sync to Volkers. And I don't think it's in the live and manuals either. It's just I guess an oversight.
So all they have to do is just that spec sheet that they've got on their website, which has got the SmplTrek stuff. Put that at the back of the manual, and then add that as a row.
Yeah,
it syncs at this rate. Bang, job done.
I do believe that the spec list has now made it into the back of the forthcoming manual.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't get that far.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if it does mention.
While you're checking that out, I've only got 3 more to go. Okay, so this one might be a demo one. The clock can sync to internal MIDI sync, as we mentioned before, and even USB. However, I've had some, and this is Ranzee, as in I, have had some weird results with USB sync.
Oh dear. Okay.
And I don't know what it is. It could be a clock jitter issue. It could be just my setup. Who knows? but I will show you that a little bit later because I think it's definitely something to check out. And you'll see when I do it, you'll see the scenes. You know how you got the little sort of playhead going across the top of the scenes. You'll see that do what it thinks it's going to do, and then the sample stops. But then you've still got the instrument track still playing at the clock rate that's coming from the USB. So it's kind of weird. There's some weird stuff going on, and I think I know why, and we'll talk about this in a sec too. But it'd be nice if at the top of your sample track, and you are syncing to MIDI clock, that it actually showed the MIDI clock up the top. See where it's got your clock at 125 BPM?
Oh yeah.
It'd be nice if it actually, because that's the internal clock that you set, the tempo here, right? But if you actually have an external clock, it'd be nice if that actually said what the external clock was. So if I was to go and change the clock in Ableton or something like that, and it's synced to MIDI, so I should go back to here and show you guys what I mean, because you know what I mean, Chris, but not everyone does, right?
Yeah.
So if I go into, I think it's this one, isn't it? Yeah. And then I go into clock, and don't know if this has changed, but there you can change your clock source, and I've got to get around the microphone to do this. Internal MIDI and then sync, which was what we were talking about before. So there are your three options. Now, if you do set it to MIDI, it's also USB. Okay, so people need to know that that's both, and internal is what I had it on before.
I think there's an option somewhere to change which MIDI you're looking for. It can be both or either. I think is in one of the system menus somewhere. Let me just check.
It might be under MIDI. Yeah, you got channel
MIDI config. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's your MIDI, USB, and MIDI. Yeah, and I think there's another page too, isn't there, where you can actually tell it to do program changes and stuff as well, which is actually pretty handy. Because you can actually do, we haven't talked about this, but you can actually do MIDI tracks on this thing as well. So this can be a MIDI sequencer. Anyway, a couple more to go. There is no undo. Now that was, I think, Cuckoo that came up with that one. I thought that was quite interesting. That would probably be a handy thing to have somewhere. Like the clear function, for example. Maybe that could be a function clear, could be an undo or something as an option. Yeah. Battery life was something else that came up. So there's been some interesting, and this is just people reporting stuff. So I haven't tried this myself on battery yet. It's always been on the power so far for me. But I have gone and bought myself a rechargeable pack of AA batteries, which are the Energizer brand. And I want to see how they work in it. But apparently it does drain the rechargeable AA batteries pretty quick from what people are reporting.
I've seen some mixed reports, so I'm not quite sure. I haven't fully tested it on a set of rechargeables yet. I did use it briefly. You have to remember to change you have to remember to tell it that you're using rechargeable batteries.
So you've got to go into the system, don't you?
Yeah, so it reports the battery drain correctly. But I've seen differing results from different people.
And as with any kind of battery operated device, if you're using rechargeables, you really need to get the biggest you can get in terms of capacity. I mean, I'm using 2400 milliamps, and I'm actually going to order some 2800s if I or even I might even just go for some lithium ion ones just to see how they work out.
That's the ones I'm getting, the lithium ones. Yeah.
Swanky.
Yeah. They're not much more. Like the dollar spend, you're going to be, when you think about disposable batteries, which I absolutely can't stand because it kills our environment. So then the only option in my view is to have rechargeable. So it's only a few dollars more to go for the more juicy ones, the lithium ones. So yeah.
I know some people are asking, and I don't know an answer, an official answer to this. I don't know if Chris does, about using rechargeable power packs because you can get them for guitar pedals. These really big sort of high capacity power packs. So as long as they're outputting 12 volts, at least half an amp, and the polarity is correct, then there shouldn't be any reason why that doesn't work. And it might be a better option for the more mobile user of the SmplTrek, which I guess obviously the SmplTrek being its size and capacity is primarily a kind of a portable unit, so it really you really do need to do something there. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I've seen people have good results doing that on the Facebook group, just using a power bank.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to get a warning on the device if your battery's running out. Is the issue, because it just thinks it's running off the mains.
Yeah.
So if you're running off a power pack, you've got to be aware that your power pack is the thing that's going to tell you if your battery's running out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of autosave, is there an autosave feature on this?
No, you have to manually save projects.
Discovered very early.
Yeah.
Damn,
I did as well. So that is going to be another little trap for people that
always hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you accidentally yank the power out of the socket or something, stupid like that, you will literally lose what you've done, and there is absolutely no way of getting it back up until when you've last saved it. So yeah. It's good to know. Awesome. Okay.
Often.
That, by the way, that is all I could find. So some of those things were I would like to have arpeggiators and things like that, right? And some of those things were sort of some pretty decent suggestions, and some of the things I thought,
we've had some excellent suggestions so far. So we'll just have to see what the engineers can pull out.
Can I mention the thing about USB to computer connectivity that I discovered? So basically what I found was out of the box it's supposed to be able to connect to Mac and PC either way, and you can do that via the USB port. And as far I'm using a Mac, so I was plugging it in and it wasn't necessarily showing up in my Mac as an external drive, which is what it supposed to do, but it was doing it. It wasn't doing it in Catalina, but it was doing it in Ventura, which was odd. So I managed to do what I needed to do. Also, absolutely must, as soon as you get your SmplTrek and you've got an SD card, you must format it within the SmplTrek to get the right file structure. But also make sure that your SD card, if it's a brand new one, you should be okay, because I think most SD cards come like pre-formatted in FAT or exFAT or whatever, because that's a kind of a general format that most computers can read. But if you're coming from a Mac world, which I was, my SD card I think had been used in my Mac, and so therefore was using the Mac journaled stuff, and that was causing some issues in terms of the little ._ indexing files that you get with a Mac that you don't see on a Mac, but if you plug that thing into a Windows machine, you'll see them as kind of ghost files. Yeah. I was getting a lot of that, so make sure that you format the card in FAT is the simplest way of doing it, and then you can see it. But what I found was I plugged my SmplTrek into my Mac and was just moving some stuff around, some samples from my library onto the SD card, and I'm a good boy. I follow good practice. I right click on the drive on my Mac screen and choose eject rather than just yank it straight out, just to make sure it's finished doing what it's doing. And I did that once or twice and turned around to my SmplTrek and it's still in card reader mode. And it wouldn't come out. It literally just locked up on me. The only way I could get it to boot up again was to disconnect the power. So reconnect the power, but the thing still froze. But if you took the SD card out, it was okay. So there's clearly something had happened to the SD card, and the way that the SmplTrek kind of leans on the SD card in terms of its boot process meant that something had gone wrong. So I literally had to reformat my SD card, which had already got like 5 gig of samples loaded into it. Thankfully, I've got them all backed up, so it was just a short transfer back over once I'd reformatted the card. However, I reported that, and 2 days later I'm told that's now fixed, and I haven't encountered it since. But be aware if you are sort of using your computer to transfer things through. If you haven't upgraded the firmware just yet, you might find it's safer to just take the SD card out of the SmplTrek, put it into an SD card reader, do your stuff that way, and then move it back. But this, I think the new firmware that's dropping next week is going to solve that once and for all.
Yeah. So just for those who are wondering, and this is based on the advice that they gave you, this is the type of SD card that you want to get for it. It's got to be
exactly
a class 10. So, you know, that's the sort of one that you can get. And 32 gigabytes is what is being supported with what they say. I know there are guys saying that they've got 64 gigs in there, and there's guys that have said maybe they've got bigger ones. But that's what Sonicware have said that's supported. So, by the way, I've bought this today because I've only got a 16 in mine at the moment. So if we have time, we can actually go through how to actually go and format that card, because that's a brand new card. Might as well go do that. Now, do you guys want me to show you the little bug with MIDI? I thought it was. Yeah, sure. I think it's not really a bug. I think it's because the SmplTrek doesn't. It doesn't do, what do you call it? Time stretching. I think it's because it doesn't do time stretching, and that's what's causing it. I think that's the reason. So I don't think it's actually a bug. I think it's purely just the limitation of it. Now, if I need to go into here, don't I, and set my clock to internal. Now it needs to be set. Oh, get my hands in the way, and then go around the microphone again. Set it to MIDI. There we go. So now I've got my clock source coming in as MIDI, okay, and you can exit from this button here, or you can also press clear. That's kind of cool. I like how there's a couple of options sometimes. You know, you can press clear, it'll take you out. Some people said to me, "Oh, don't press clear because it hasn't remembered the settings." Yes, it does. It's the same as pressing that button. So just a few things there. Some nice things, I think. Anyway, so we're going to go into Ableton, which is this button here. And I'm going to bring up my MIDI to make sure that we are definitely playing MIDI. And I'm just showing you guys, so you know. So if I go is it Command Shift 8? No, is it just Option Shift 8? There we go. Zoom in. Okay, down here. Let's go down a little bit. You will see SmplTrek in, and I've just ticked everything. I've noticed it does allow you to tick MPE on that. I don't think it does MPE, by the way. And then I've just ticked everything. So track, sync, and remote for that. So you know that it's going to play if I press play. So if I do press play on here, we can. I think I need to have launch enabled, don't I, Chris? I'm
not sure.
On the SmplTrek, that's what the launch is for, right?
Launch? Yeah, if launch is lit, you can use the different track and scene buttons to trigger different parts of it. Okay,
so do I have it lit or not?
I'm not sure.
Leave it unlit?
I'm not sure it makes a difference from via MIDI with play, not just trigger it.
All right,
trigger the play button.
You guys trust me. I'm going to hit play here. All right, you guys can see this is my play button. I'm going to press it with my mouse. I mean, I can fade it in over like that so you guys can see it at the same time. There you go. All right, here we go. I'm going to press play. All right, and nothing's played. Okay, so maybe that launch needs to be.
Maybe it does. Yeah.
We'll just do it again. Okay, try again. Nope, nothing played. Okay, which is interesting. All right, but if I press play here. Okay, so that to me is saying that it's waiting for me to press play on my DAW, and if I press play, there you go. There you go. It just did it. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so what happened then is the loop track stopped looping. It only went through once. Did you notice that?
Oh, right.
Yeah. And if I go into back into here and take it out of that one and put it back to internal, right? And then I press play again. We're back on there. You watch it. It'll do the loop properly on scene 2 and 3. See? Interesting. Mind you, I think I might actually have to update the firmware on this. I think there is a firmware waiting to come in there. So what I'll do is offline after the show, I'll update the firmware and I'll try that again. And if that fixes it, then we're all tickety boo.
Yep.
If it doesn't, then you guys can poke me and prod me a bit more about what I'm doing. Okay.
Well, if it doesn't fix it, then just make a little video of it, stick it on the Facebook group, and I'm sure the engineers will be able to see.
Yep.
That's probably the easiest way.
Yeah. So it's not a criticism at all. I just thought, oh, that was a bit weird. Why did it do that?
Yeah.
So,
doesn't seem right, does it? No.
Yep. But anyway, like I said, it's needs to have a firmware update, possibly. So X101 is saying.
Just want you.
So I was going to say X101 is saying that Ableton has horrid MIDI sync. So that could be the reason. I actually don't think it does. I mean, I'm using Ableton with Pamela's new workout, and it works fine. I actually don't have a problem with it. So yeah. Anyway, you can't really. I just don't think Ableton wouldn't be successful as a DAW if it had horrible MIDI sync. No one would buy it. Do you get me? Like, why would they sell so many copies of Ableton? What are everybody just putting up with terrible MIDI sync? I don't think so. So I think maybe they might have at one stage, a long time ago, but it's never been an issue for me. But if you really want perfect MIDI sync, then get one of those, hardware master clock type boxes. That's the only thing that you could ever really sort of swear by. But yeah, anyway, moving on.
I've just noticed something about buying it. So if you go onto the website, it says it's $399, right? But actually, further down the website, it says if you're in Europe, please use our European distributor. So I clicked across to the European distributor, who are called B4 Distribution, and the price is €599. So there's quite a discrepancy in prices.
Okay.
If you're going to buy it in Europe, just to make people aware of that, really. Sorry, I'm lying to you. €559, not €599, but it's still over an extra £100, isn't it? If you want to do conversion rates.
There is some some news coming out, and we'll let Chris have that platform to do that.
Yeah.
About buying your SmplTrek. So, Chris, you just tell me when you're ready to talk about that, and I'm more than happy to give you the floor.
The price discrepancy is just about a distribution, really, getting good distribution set up. I'm not sure if the price will ever come down in Europe or not, but that's it's up for Sonicware to decide. But I can tell you that the UK distribution is now being rolled out, because there wasn't any at all. It wasn't available in the UK. You had to get it shipped in from Europe, but now I've got a list from Sonicware themselves telling me where it's going to be available to buy in the UK. So it's going to be at Anderton's, Cable Stop Online, Scan & Pro Audio, Juno Records, and Signal Sounds. And that is definitely for the SmplTrek and Lo-Fi 12. I'm not sure if it's true of the other Live products, of the other Sonicware products, but it's definitely for those two new ones. So that's good. So there's going to be stock available. Yeah.
And I'd highly recommend Juno, because if you give them a call, they will always do you a deal.
Well,
True.
Always.
Yeah, no, they're great.
They are good.
I actually I back that up too, Robbie. I've used Juno myself, and I'm in Australia, and they have been amazing. They're a good bunch of guys. Yep. Shout out to them too if they're watching.
Retailers are available.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so you're watching this and you've missed out on Kickstarter. So what happens now? Like if you got a bit of gas, you think, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I wouldn't mind one of these. And they, like I said, they are really champing at the bit to fix some of those issues. They won't fix them all, because some of those will be by design, and you'll just have to put up with it. Like maybe the drum track thing might be by design. But other than that, it is a really solid sampler. Brooksy, I think you're going to love it. It's completely different to an MPC. So well, put it this way: we absolutely rubbished Korg with their Electri stupidness, with the way that they were making us have that stupid boot up mode and stuff with the sampler. This doesn't have any of those issues. You put the SD card in, it will go back to the same project that you were previously working on. Things like that are just, yes, someone's actually programming these things correct.
Like the Beatbox does the same.
Yeah. I think Loopop mentioned the Beatbox as a comparison product in his video that he did. So
interesting.
So, but yeah, you're gonna absolutely love this thing. It's pretty cool. And Chris, I reckon this is a perfect time for us to put some good news out about this.
Yes.
Because there is a new feature.
Yes. So next week at some point, version 1.1 will be released, and it puts the loop mode, the real-time looper, back on the firmware, which had to be removed just before release because of a critical bug. So I can demo that. I've got something lined exciting. Up. It might go horribly wrong. So I've already got. Let me just get rid of that off my screen. So I've already got a project set up here with a loop that will play. This is just some drums. And then the two below, I've set up 2 loop tracks, and I've already gone in to them and decided their length from the length. So this is 64 steps, and this one is 32. So all we need to do is go into loop record mode, so we can press record, and then I can hit the scene button, and all 3 of the tracks will play. We can do it differently. I can hit record. I can hit the track, and 1 track will play. Then I can hit record, but I've got to punch in to each of these tracks in the right place. It will quantize to a setting that's in the system menu, but I keep messing it up, so I'm just going to play it safe and just hit the scene button.
Go for it, mate.
So all 3 clips will play, and then when we want to record onto one of the tracks, I just have to hit the track button, and I can play something in. So yeah, I'll just have a go. It might go terribly wrong. So loop record, and then press scene. And this will play around the 4 bars. So I've got the Lo-Fi 12 here as an audio source. Oh, tell you what I didn't do. Let's press the track button. So that's now armed that track, so it's ready to record. It loops back round. And that'll play. Select a different sound and then pick track 3. And that'll play like that. And then if I decide I didn't like that, I just punch back into track 3. And that'll loop. So you've got a nice, easy to use looper. It's as simple as that.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
That is actually really cool.
That's a great function.
Yeah.
Now, question:
can the loop be additive or punch over?
That's exactly my question. Is it going to be like an RC505 type thing?
Is that like an overdub?
Yeah, overdubby. Yeah.
Right. This it just records straight over the top of the existing material at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So who knows?
That is really cool.
Update. You never know.
Yeah. So it's I've been playing around with it since yesterday. It's really quite cool.
People have to remember this thing is half the price of an MPC. Or less than half the price of a. No, it's probably not half the price of an MPC 1 though, is it? It's well, it was on Kickstarter, that's for sure. The recommended retail price, it's not, but it's more than half the price of an Octatrack. And you think about some of those higher end loopers and samplers, they've got overdubbing and features like that. If that's what you want, if that's a game changer for you, then you go buy that product. So that's the way I would look at it. You can't have everything. This thing would have a limit amount of CPU and memory, and it will only be able to do so much, and then it would the engineers are just going to say, "Sorry guys, we just don't have any resources in this thing." So
Jim Glue's just asked, how many loop tracks can it have?
You can have all 10 tracks as loops. Yeah, so if you set them all up as loop tracks to start with,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Inky's asked, will we get the stutter feature like on the Lo-Fi?
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, performance features have been requested. It's on the list of stuff that I've asked about. So, yeah, quite where it fits in the system in terms of how you access it. I don't know if they were to add that.
Yeah. Okay.
What we have to remember here is like you said, this is £400-500 unit, depending on where you get it from, when, and what have you. If you want an MPC, buy an MPC. This is a different thing. Again, I mentioned about me not clicking with Ableton Live. I never clicked with the MPC, even though I worked a huge amount on a lot of their original libraries back in the day. Never clicked with the workflow. This does. So, it's different, and I appreciate lots of people saying, oh, but it hasn't got note repeats, it hasn't got all these things that MPCs have. If you want that, get an MPC. This is a different beast, really.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think we all have to sort of remember too that we don't want this thing to be an MPC. We don't want it to be an Octatrack. We don't want it to be Ableton. And the more that people ask for features and trying to get a device to behave like what they're used to in their workflow, the more these products will end up being either just too much chameleonizing of everything, and it will just be, it won't have its own identity. I think where it stands for me, it actually really stands on its own as its own individual product. And there's a lot of samplers out there on the market. So for them to do that, Sonicware have done amazing work. I think we should work with some of the limitations. I don't really see them as limitations. We talked about the quantizing thing before, right? And then we talked about micro timing. There was ways around it, but those global tracks, you've got is it 2 or 3, Chris? I forget now.
There's three global tracks, and within each one of those is 3 virtual tracks that you can record to.
Yeah.
And that you can hop between different sections. Yeah.
Yep.
That can run for the whole length of your track.
Yeah. Robbie, did you have anything that you wanted to show on yours? Did you have yours set up or?
Not really. No, I mean, set up. I don't have a camera going over it, unfortunately. But I mean, there's nothing that I could show you that Chris couldn't do 1,000,000 times better. I'm like you. I'm still learning it. I've put together a few bits, and I'm getting to grips with. Everybody get a drink ready. I fitted WIDI to mine and have WIDI'd other bits of gear into it, and I can attest to the fact that I can use a controller keyboard rather than the pads on the thing to play my stuff in. Equally, it will trigger. I've had it triggering my Mini Freak and a few other bits as well. So it works if you want to sort of break out of the box, so to speak, and use other bits of hardware really nicely. I haven't tried it like you with DAWs or software stuff, but I will give it a go. But yeah, I just think for the money and the feature set and the quality. I mean, this is a properly you said about the packaging. The packaging is brilliant. It's always indicative of how everything else is, I guess, because the quality of the build, the manufacture, the pads. I'm just thinking how
the pads
could
are
I
beautiful.
Possibly,
the pads are beautiful.
Yep. How could they possibly sell this to me for what they sold it to me? I'm not complaining, but how could they?
Send me another one if you want.
It has, especially when you got some batteries in it. It has some heft to it. It's not heavy, but it's not cheap and plasticky light stuff. It has quality, and I love what these guys do. I've now got I've now got all of the Livens. I don't know how to use them all yet.
Collect them all.
It's just I'm just trying to find somebody selling an ELZ one.
Yeah.
So,
Robbie, what were you saying about Eurorack before?
No. But we mentioned earlier about the size of the SmplTrek. I actually put it next to the Aliven, and it is exactly half Aliven.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is maybe there's something else in the works that's going to be half Aliven, and that kind of format becomes a standard. That'd be cool.
I need to get my XFM out because I haven't actually gone and grabbed it and plugged it in yet. That's the next thing for me is to bring this with the other, because this is what Sonicware built this for. They want you to buy their other groove boxes. They want you to interact with them, sample them. I think it's a really cool thing, because once you sample something, then you can mangle the samples, you can lo-fi them, you can reverse them, all sorts of cool things you can do. Okay, what I thought we'd do next, if it's okay with Chris, because Chris likes me to put him on the spot with things, is to load a new project. So we go and select new, and I'm just going to load this other one in. Now, this is probably going to earn me a copyright claim, because I've got some samples on here. Well, the song is actually originally done by a group in the UK called Pop Will Eat Itself. You guys might remember them as being one of the sample giants of the 80s and 90s. Those guys,
I remember them.
I think they got the Akai's steaming at the back. They were using those Akai 1000s and 2000s like you wouldn't believe. Anyway, so what I've tried to do, now this point here is actually probably to show you sort of why you wouldn't use a SmplTrek for this, because it's really not really an arranging type sampler, if that makes sense. This is more like what Chris did. It's more sort of like a build stuff as you go. I think it's a really good live sort of sampling thing. But anyway, this song is not anywhere near like the original that they did, but this is a song that they did called Poison to the Mind, and it's actually a sample from a really old movie that came out in the UK called Wonderwall. I think it was the late 60s. And there's an old gentleman on here that you'll hear soon. Now, I want to show you this is because I want to show you what you can do with a drum track that's different to what most people would use a drum track for. And one is to use it to do little sort of
music is just
shorts.
Music is just
right. So you can do
music is just organized noise. Too much music.
You guys know this song probably.
Don't like songs. Poison to the mind. Don't like songs. Poison to the mind.
Right, you guys might remember that song. Then he goes,
too much music.
Right, so that is one of the cool things that you can do with a drum track. Right? And I'm mucking around with stuff. Let's see what it sounds like. Now, I don't know. Oh, I probably need to go and change the settings of this to make sure it's not MIDI sync.
You got your MIDI sync on, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, we're good. We are good.
Nice.
We are good to go. Now, I don't know how this is going to sound, but let's give it a go anyway. See how we go.
Another job for...
Now, that hasn't recorded my... That's weird. Okay. Chris, how do I get this to stay on the one scene?
If you go into launch mode.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in launch mode.
Yeah. So I just press the
button
scene
instead of play.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what you would record next. You go. Hang on a sec. I need to go onto the drum track. Don't have to do this. So play. Scene. Here we go.
Oh yeah.
Music is just organized noise. Too much music. Music is just
he's missed it.
Organized noise. Too much music. Don't like songs. Poison to the mind. Don't like songs. Poison to the mind. Organized noise. Organized noise.
And I think there's
and noise is too much organized noise.
I think and noise is poison to the mind. I forgot what the buttons are. And then he goes into this.
Too much music.
I've done it wrong.
Too much music. Too much music.
Anyway, so there you go. So to try and do some really sort of, I mean, those guys probably spent months programming their Akais in those old days in the 80s and stuff like that. So, but there you go. That was just to show that you don't have to use a drum track just to have drums on it. You can use it to have little sort of vocal shorts, and it's actually pretty cool. Once I worked out that it was limited to 2.5 seconds, actually 2.5 seconds is heaps. It's I fit all of those samples under 2.5 seconds on there. So
unless you've got some massively long cymbal crash, that's probably the only time you're going to run into the limit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Now I can't remember which one I had on here. That one of the tracks has that. It's like a sample in here. I think it's. I don't know if it's this one. Is it this one? How do you play that thing?
Somewhere in the sprawling metropolis, another job.
No, it's not that one. It is. Could be that. Try this one. So that's track 4, right? Yeah, there. So I recorded. So I actually recorded that on the sample track from Ableton. I should go to this view because you guys can see what I'm doing. So in the back, you can see that I've actually got the 2 audio inputs and the 2 audio outputs connected, right? And what I've got is I've actually got my system plumbed via an ADAT module in Ableton, and then I can literally send anything in Ableton to the sample track, which is really cool. So if I wanted the strike effect, for example, which is here, and I wanted that to go to the sample track, I just choose external out, and then I choose the sample track, which I think was 2930, somewhere around there, and then we don't want that track, wrong one, and we want to enable that, and then we should get sound going into sample track. I think it's a 31. I forget which one it is. It's one of those two anyway. And so then I can literally just record anything from my DAW straight into the sample track, which is how I did that. That's what do you call those metal drum sounds that was synonymous with that original track.
Yeah, steel pan drums.
Steel pan drums, yeah. And if you're wondering where I got them from, I got those from the JV1080 Roland sounds. They were, yeah. But anyway, so that is quite a bit of stuff that we've done with the sample track. I don't know if you guys have got any more questions. Brooksy said Henrik had a question.
Yep.
Where is it?
So Henrik just asked, live sampling, how much is possible live? Sampling and live manipulating of that, can it be used as an echo machine with triggering off different parts? I don't know what he was getting at.
An echo machine. You can
I know what he means.
You can run the external audio through the effects in real time, if that's what you mean. Yeah, it's difficult to know what you want to know beyond that, really. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I kind of think what he means is like when you've got the live recording, can you dump something that you're doing straight away live and then replay it? You know what I mean? Like it's that instantaneous. Like you were doing that the looper thing before, Chris, and you know, if you're pretty quick, but if you know your keystrokes on the machine, you could have that playing pretty quick back, couldn't you? You could play your whole set into it.
Yeah, I mean, like what I recorded there, that as you play that back, you can play over the top of it immediately. So it's just literally capturing and playing back straight away. So just like any other looper. Yeah.
Yeah. He's talking about the Boss DSD pedals, but they're looper pedals really, and they've got the overdub feature on them. The EHX pedals do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've got 10 tracks, so you could potentially record one track and then shift immediately to the next and record another layer, and then you've got the option to sort of mute out parts as well. You know, remove stuff from
your SP1200 trick too. We have different buttons with different times on it, and you get the delay effect as you go down the buttons.
Yeah, that is actually true. I forgot about that, Andy. The muting of individual drum kit parts, is that in the pipeline? Asks Rabid Bat.
Oh, individual, like hits within a kit. You can edit. You can go into kit edit mode and make a kit, but at the moment that just plays out as a single track into the mixer.
See that once again is kind of like an MPC thing. Because in an MPC you can go into one of the screens on an MPC and you literally can mute individual parts of your drum kit track as you're playing live, and it becomes a performance thing. So you can actually you can mute the kick drum, have a drop, that sort of stuff. It's a cool thing.
You can set up shots tracks as well. There's that option. A shot track can have a single sample in it per track, and then they're on different tracks, so you could mute the individual tracks that way. So like you could build up a rhythm across several tracks. It's kind of hungry in terms of it's using up lots of different tracks for individual hits, but it gives you more flexibility that they could be muted on the fly. Yeah.
And you probably don't want to do that though, unless you've got a simple track that if there's specific things that you wanted to mute. But I can see what he's saying. But I would probably be more inclined to use the scenes. So you're pre-configuring your scenes to the way you want to mute those parts. So you'd copy a scene across to another scene, and then if you didn't want the kick drum in that particular scene, you'd mute it out, or you just delete the MIDI implementation of that kick being fired on the the piano roll. So
that would be an easy way to do it.
Yeah, it'd be more like planning. It's just, to me, this thing is more like a little bit of planning ahead, and then it's got that sort of live. I like it. It's the live manipulation. Why as long as you've planned ahead a little bit. Like I found myself, I got sort of caught out when I was doing the other project where I wanted to do the instrument string track first, and I thought, I've got to shift them all across now. Yeah. That's planning ahead. So have a little bit of pre-thought. But then again, like when you're thinking about this, it's not an MPC. It's like what Robbie said. It's not an octatrack. It's it's got some parameter locking, on it. So it can be a little bit of an octatrack. It can be a little bit of an MPC. It can be a little bit of an Akai Force, because it does have one shots. So it's got a little flavour of all the good samplers in it. But yes, there we go.
Another thing worth pointing out: this is also a really great audio interface.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. What we were going to show, weren't we, Chris? We were going to show that. Good point, Robbie. Really good point. Great segue.
Loves him something.
Not that button. That button, the button right above the button that I'd accidentally pressed. Okay, so if you in your audio DAW, all right, in this particular case, we don't want Strifeit. Get away, Strifeit. In your DAW, and here we are. We're going to zoom in so you guys can see it all. I want to change my audio interface. Here we are. So I've got my SmplTrek plugged in via USB. So there she is. There is 2 inputs, and there is 2 outputs. So it's 2 in, 2 out. It's that easy. And then all you have to do is just go in and configure your 2 ins and 2 outs. And you are tickety-boo, as they say in the classics. I'm not going to do it because I don't need to, because I've got mine plumbed in via the Digiface. Digiface. People getting upset with me when I pronounce things wrong. Anyway, so there you go. Now, when we do talk about the sorry, I'm going to go to you guys that way. When we do talk about the audio interface, Chris, this is a good thing if you want to add anything to this. This is really built so it's class compliant, right? So it will plug straight into your iPhone or your tablet if you want to use an iPad or something like that. And the whole point of this is basically chuck some batteries in this, chuck it into your iPhone, sample some sample some stuff off TikTok. I don't know, whatever. This is kind of where things are going, right? Yeah.
I found it really useful just to plug my phone straight into it and just grab a free sample off a sample site just directly, over Wi-Fi straight into the SmplTrek, and there it is to add to a kit or drum away on or whatever.
The sample editing on it is actually not too bad either. I know people do whinge about screens, right? They given anyone, they'll always whinge about the screen. But this keep remembering this it fits in the palm of my hand. Please do not forget that. This thing's a tiny little thing, right? I'll get Robbie. I'll get you to hold yours up again because it really does show how small it is, right? It's smaller than Robbie's head. If you're thinking of throwing something at Robbie, don't throw the SmplTrek. No, no, that wouldn't be very nice. So, if you are to do editing of samples on this, it's pretty easy. Actually, Chris, I might get you to show this because you're better at it than me.
My camera's not going to zoom in on the screen very well. That's any problem.
Okay, so if I want to edit a sample, okay, I'll do it. So I choose a sample. We can choose anything. This crappy USB that I've got here. I might get one of those pop will edit self ones. Hey, why don't we do that? How about don't like songs? That one there. So if you want to listen to it, you just go like that.
Don't like songs. Don't like songs. Don't like songs. Don't like songs.
Yeah, shut up. And then we bring it in now. So we've got a menu here, and I do apologise. I'm bumping the camera. It's actually not the camera that I'm bumping. It's the table this is sitting on. We can do some stuff here. So we can just load that sample in as is, right? Now, Chris, if I was to load that sample as is into the system, how much more editing do I have after I've loaded it in? I can just change the start and the end, basically, and there's a few bits, isn't there?
Basically it, yeah.
So you really kind of need to do most of your stuff here, right?
Yeah, in the form.
Yeah. So you want to kind of, don't really want to change those things. The menus are really good. That they put things down the bottom, which you don't really use as much. I think they've definitely thought this through. So chopping is really good if you want to set up the sample across a couple of different slices.
Yeah.
So we can show that if you want. It's probably not a good one for that, but there's 3 words, I guess, in there. You could chop that up. So we can do auto slice on this, couldn't we?
Yeah.
We might do it. Give it a go.
Depends on the sensitivity.
Yeah, we probably need to...
picked up the transients.
Yeah, we probably need to pick up the sensitivity. Now, sensitivity is...
The value knob.
That one. So we'll increase it. Oh, there you go. So there. Yeah. So it's picked up 3 or 4 transients there. And it's done a reasonably good job. You could probably just go, yep, cool, next, bang. And
I think if you played the trackpads now, it would actually play the individual hits.
Don't like songs.
Sorry.
Don't like songs. Don't like songs. Don't like songs.
And you can move them around, right? So if I want to move 2, I just use the no.
I think you have to switch back to manual. It's the button underneath the screen on the left.
Ah, there it is. And then
so then you can move you.
Then you go to 2.
Like.
So then you go to the value.
Yeah.
Right. And you can move that in wherever you want it.
Oh, I see. You can add them from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then B is move, right? So you can use the. Oops. That will move.
Yes, that's it. Sorry.
Yeah. So I want to move that one. It's a bit too. A bit too sharp on that. Yeah, there you go.
Don't like songs. Don't like songs.
It's actually pretty easy to use. Remembering that's a tiny little screen, I can see that even with my crappy eyesight and glasses on. I can see that I'm standing an arm's length away. I can still see it clearly. The OLED display on this is really crisp. It is really, really crisp. So yes, it is small. Yeah.
The size of the screen is negated by the clarity of the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got crap eyes, but I can. It's yeah. I've never once looked at it and thought, oh, I wish the screen was bigger on this.
Yeah. Now, if I want to go back to that menu, Chris, it's next back.
It's clear, I think.
Clear?
Or yeah.
Oh no.
Is it clear or is it back? Yeah, oh, that's yeah.
I think it's
clear as your
back.
sample point. Sorry.
Cancel and back. Yep.
Yeah.
And then it takes you back to your sample thing, and you can just load it again, and then you get your options again. Trimming is exactly what it says. Now, time stretch is the one that a lot of people want to know about. So this is probably not a very good sample to do time stretching on. But you've got 2 different types of time stretching. Has this changed at all? Or is it still the same?
No, this is still the same.
Okay.
Yeah, so the time stretch is not real time, which is what the issue you were having, I think, before with your tempo sync.
Yeah.
So you can stretch a sample and then it just bakes a new one basically that you load into a slot and then it's not done in real time.
Yeah, you have to, like I said before, plan ahead with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you decide, okay, my track is at 125 BPM, I want to increase it, it's too slow, I'm going to go to 137, you may have to go and re-stretch some of your samples. Yeah. Which is different to some of the more expensive samplers, which have built-in time stretching, and that's why they've got the bigger CPUs in. So just remember, this is not an Intel Pentium 7 Core i7 in here that's friggin' checking your emails at the same time. So
I'd like to know what processor is in this, or what sort of processor and the speed.
It's an ARM, isn't it? I thought it was an ARM.
I don't know. I've not been told.
Okay. Open it up.
I didn't think to ask.
Some people have been suggesting that it's kind of running a form of Linux. But I honestly don't know. It'd be interesting to find out.
I think it's written. It's like it's written from the ground up. It's their own stuff. Anyway, bespoke. Yeah. So target length is the most important one. This is where you would set. Okay, I want this thing to be set at. So if you recorded that sample, this is why it's a good idea, people, when you actually do record samples, to record and put in your sample file name the BPM that you recorded it at, because it's always handy, especially if it's a rhythmic sample, because then you're looking at the sample name up there, right? It doesn't have anything that tells me anything about the BPM. It doesn't matter for this. This is just someone talking, so it doesn't matter. But this would be a case where we want to make it... So you can change... I can't get my hand around here. My microphone's in the way. You can change bars, steps, and time. So I like... If you're doing rhythmic stuff or vocal stuff, time is a good one. Because then you can go, okay, I want this to be longer or shorter. So that one makes a lot of sense in my mathematical brain, right? But then some people go, no, I'm musical. I want to have it based on bars or steps. So you've got... I think it's actually really clever, personally. So do you want to try it? Let's make this really, really slow. So we're going to increase the time. We're going to make it twice as slow, just to piss everyone off, because we like doing things like that here. And there we go. We've just made it twice as slow. And now it's created a new file.
Yeah.
And you can listen to it.
Don't like songs. Don't like songs. Don't like songs.
There she is.
Don't like songs. Don't like songs.
Like that. So there you go. Now you can put that. You haven't lost it. It's chucked it in your pool. It hasn't overwritten your sample. I think very, very good programming, guys. That is exactly what you'd expect. Some people might like a faster sort of operating system where it grabs it and then it puts it into the next step. But I don't think that's too hard for you to go to the next step, because really the next step, if you think about it, might be that you might want to mangle that sample some more. You've just time stretched it, right? So I might want to go and chop it now, or I might want to normalize it, or I might want to trim it. So I think personally the way that works with the way I would logically want to do it. And at the same time, you might just go, okay, I just want to chuck it straight in to my track. Well, you've got load. Load's there up the top. Let's load that straight into the track. Bang. And then we can put that there as a shot. Let's all get shot. And you go in there, and there it is. That one. No, that one.
5, is it?
Don't like songs.
There it is.
Don't like songs.
Easy. So I didn't think that's too, crazy. And I think most people have computers these days. If you want to get kind of fancier sort of sample editing, do it on your computer and then put that on your SD card before you chuck it in. Don't expect this thing to do everything. I think it's got a lot of things, by the way. What would you guys like to see in this in terms of sample editing? Anything else? Brooksy? I think you're muted, mate.
Everyone take a drink.
Yeah.
No, you're still muted, bud. I don't know what's going on there. No, we can't hear you. Come back in a sec to you. Now, Andy's here, and we haven't actually heard much from him, but he's actually got his SmplTrek as well. Hey!
Yeah, I wanted to do a quick comparison here because people ask about size and also features. So this was the original OG, take in the field, sample, have fun, mix in instruments, put a mic into it, use the built-in mic, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, the screen is an LED. It was kind of cumbersome with all these function buttons and macros. The buttons are only slightly bigger, so this is not too bad. And also, these are only unicolor LEDs. It's either on or off. These are multicolor for functions and stuff. So they've added a lot of stuff to this to give you the SP404 feel in a smaller package, and more features and more goodies, and also give you the screen and a lot of the deeper features of the Digitact. So it's a really nice hybrid of two great portable samplers.
Yeah, I think it also has a bit of Ableton in it. I think it has a bit of MPC.
Yeah, it's a hybrid of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
but the two main things would be Digitact, because the screen is really a Digitact screen.
It is a Digitact screen, yeah.
And the feature sets and the cool effects you can add and stuff. This is much more simple. It's like one effect at a time. They have switchable effects or a multi-effect. You had to go through a menu here, which is kind of annoying. And only a couple knobs. This has a lot more knobbage.
Yep.
Right?
Knobbage.
And this has the D-pad. And this doesn't. So, yeah. So it's...
Darren would like that.
It's a win-win.
Darren, you watching
the SP?
There's knobs.
Does the SP404 have like chromatic sample playback, or is it just mostly for drums?
No, you can do great stuff. The other thing I forgot is no velocity on the pads for the 404. The new one does have it finally, but several generations had no velocity. And for a drum machine, that really sucks, right?
Hey, Andy, just go back to your overhead cam shot again, and just pick up the SmplTrek as if you were to use it, keeping it under the camera shot. So pick it up with your two hands, right? Now, I mean, I want you to do it because if I do it, I'll mess up my camera angles. Yeah, it actually does have a Game Boy sort of feel, and he's designed this so that it is basically. That's where you would hold your thumbs, where Andy's got his
a speaker
thumbs.
too. No speaker on the 404. So if you want to audition stuff, you always had to have headphones.
So in that sense, the actual user interface is actually quite clever. Like, and then if you put that down, Andy, and then you picked up the 404, you're going to be holding that from the bottom, basically. Yeah, you kind of you hold those from the bottom, don't you? Those things, and then you kind of
it's heavier. I mean, you know. But at the time, this was the deal, right? And hip hop guys love this. You go in the street, you do your sampling, and you do what you got to do. And I actually first bought this as a Halloween box. I was walking around doing crazy looped and one-shot sound effects for Halloween, hiding in the bushes in my brother's house, scaring the shit out of kids. So,
yeah.
Before I ever did any beats or any music with it, it was an awesome sound effects box.
By the way,
don't forget the SmplTrek
hope your brother's okay.
TR style sequencer. Yeah, the SmplTrek's got a TR style drum sequencer, hasn't it?
Just hang on a second, Andy. Just let me grab that from Robbie. What did you say, Robbie? Sorry.
I was going to say the SmplTrek has a TR style sequence. You know, so you use the scene buttons as a TR style, which I know that they've put into the Mark II 404, but it wasn't on the original one. So again, the
404 wasn't quantized either, so you had to be on bang on. So.
And the visual nature, the fact that those 16 steps all have different colors, which mean you can easily see where notes start, where notes end. To tie tying is really simple to do. It's very slick. There's a lot of thought gone into it. If you've got
a really big, like a long sample, and say you've set your track length to 64 or something like that, that's actually really handy because if you've said, right, okay, at step 5 I'm going to launch that sample, you'll see all of those little numbers from 1 to 16 light up from 5 onwards until the sample actually stops playing. It's very intuitive in that sense. Brooksy, you were the other one that wanted to say something.
Can you actually hear me?
Yes.
We can. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, right. Yeah, I just reconnected. I plugged the USB into the SmplTrek USB cable into it just to see it. It recognised it straight away. But as soon as I did that, the sound of the stream just went. And then when I unplugged it, the sound of the stream came back. So I think it was something to do with that. I've no idea
as soon as you plug it in,
that happens, but
as soon as you plug it in as a USB connection, I think it by default your computer will see it as an audio interface. See it
as an audio
depending
interface.
On how depending on how your computer is set up,
it's Windows, right?
Yeah, if it automatically switches, then So I know that when I plug mine in, sometimes I know various applications say, "Oh, you've just plugged in an audio interface. Do you want to switch to it?" And I say, "No, thank you," and it's fine. I don't know if that's something you can.
Yeah, Windows 10 will just automatically swap to a new audio interface.
Yeah, it's Windows 10.
You can stop it from doing that. You can do that. It is a setting. You can do it. Yep.
So there you go.
I'll dig. What I wanted to ask actually was about playing samples polyphonically. Can samples be played polyphonically over MIDI?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was doing it before.
So you can notice.
Yep.
Nice. So I wasn't sure. Well, so you could load in a nice string sample like Ranzee's done and play.
Yep.
On the keys.
I'll bring that.
All right.
I'll bring that back in.
Just wondered. Yeah, because I know that some of them. I mean, certainly the Digitacs can't do that. The Korg Electribe sample, the polyphony was limited in how many you could play. Yep.
And when
that's a demo.
I think this is it 32 notes. What's the polyphony on one sample? 35. Yeah.
30 for the
35 notes.
Let me get this right. 30 for the first 10 tracks, and then the extra 5 notes of polyphony are made up of 3 globals and external audio source on USB. So you've discounting
cool.
discounting
those
is
stereo
33.
samples?
Sorry?
Is it halved for stereo samples? Not that you can halve 35, but you know what I mean.
Oh no, I don't think it is. No,
the globals are mono, aren't they?
Yeah. I don't actually know the answer to that question. I'm not sure.
I don't think it changes how it works with stereo or mono samples. I think it doesn't care because the whole thing is stereo, right?
Yeah.
So but the panning would be weird, I would say, if you were mucking around with panning on it and stuff like that. That's probably where your stereo samples might be a bit weird. I'm not sure. But I mean, that sample is the string sample built that you get when you format your SD card comes from Sonicware. That's literally their factory string sample. And all I've done is just added. They've got a beautiful reverb called. Is it called Infinity or something? The reverb.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice.
So has this got samples already preloaded in it?
Yeah. When you format the SD card.
When you format the card, it will build a file structure.
Let's do that.
Oh,
yes, the card.
Yes, supply one. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
I reckon we need to do that.
So card. Yep.
I've got a brand new card here, so let's do it. Because I think this is the big thing that a lot of people are getting wrong when they get their sample track. They're not doing this, and this is kind of like the most important thing to do. So I'm going to.
I blame myself. Should have been in the tutorial.
I'm taking mine out. No, that's not your fault, mate. You did good. Your tutorial was amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Why do they make these things impossible to get out? I bought it. I want it out. Now I'm going to have to cut it.
Can I also
cut myself when I'm at it?
Once you've created your opus on the SmplTrek, you can then export the audio in one of 2 ways. You can either do a complete mixdown export, which is fine if you just want to then bung it onto SoundCloud or whatever, but you can also do an individual track export, so you create audio files for every single track, which you can then obviously import into your DAW or whatever you want to do with it.
That's cool.
Take it further. So go out in the field, put something amazing together, get back home, export the tracks as individuals, shove them in your door, and then continue onwards.
Shove them in your car door. Yes. Okay. No, that's a good point. It's loading, and it's probably thinking to itself, I don't really have anything on here. I don't really know why it's taking so long, but anyway. It is a brand new SD card. Chris, help.
I'll tell you what you might want to do.
Here we go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Oh, it's called there's no card.
Yeah.
Yep. So we need to go into here, down the card.
It's just depending whether it's actually recognised that it may be that it's not been formatted at all.
Yeah,
see what happens.
Completely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not letting me. Oh no! Whoops! It's really slow. What the hell? You see that? Okay, just do that again. Card read error. Format and duplicate. Format. Let's just force it to do
try
it. Now this does take a while, so I'm not going to sit here and let you guys watch that. It literally does take a while because I think there's like a ROM sitting in the machine that has a whole bunch of files and stuff that it copies across. So, and I guess during
I had a camera card I just reformatted with the SmplTrek. So.
Yeah. And also with the firmware updates, each firmware update they'll be updating that sort of stuff as they go about it. It's still going, by the way. I'll let you know. Trust me, I'm watching it.
And the firmware update process is really, really simple as well, because you just chuck in the bin file into the root of the card, and then just power up holding the home button down, and then just choose it. And it's not, so all your projects will, because they're all stored on the card anyway, that they remain on the card. Obviously, one would back up just in case, but I've not had any issues.
Yeah, I'm going to wait until the Looper firmware comes out once official before I update it, I think. But yeah, this could be. There's a way to check your firmware on here too. There's in one of those system menus. Yeah. It's still going, by the way. Here you go. Exciting.
System menu down the bottom, and you can go into information, and it shows you all the preset.
I've still got the other SD card. Do not worry, people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe that card's dodgy. I'm not sure. Brand new card. You saw me rip it out of the pack. All right. I think while we're waiting for that, we could probably get back to our normal show. What do you think, guys?
Go for it.
You guys. By the way, Robbie and Chris, you're more than welcome to hang around for this part.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I'm going to make a drink first, though.
Yeah, go for it. Go make a drink. All right. We will start with Funny Side. And we are blank. We've come up blanks, everybody. And that is because I've probably forgotten to refresh our folder. Reset. And let's go to here. Here we go. Yes, I pulled this one out of the archives because I thought this was good. Akai Cell Mini handheld sampler. I thought it was completely right up the alley for today. So if you go into the shops in somewhere in Asia, you can actually buy these Akai cell phones, mobile phones. But this one samples private calls, uploads them to the NSA cloud, and delivers fake news. There's a no shit snare feature as well, and it fits up your butt if you want. Anyway, I don't know who wrote that text on there. That's terrible. Bloody bad people.
It is tapered, so.
If you don't like Eurorack, you can always just have music on your computer, even if you are waiting for your Windows to update. You might like that. Yes. Anyway, we will keep going. Being an audio engineer, this carpet stresses me out. This is terrible. What is this, in some sort of hotel? Yeah, it's a hotel room.
Oh, my head in that.
That would definitely do
awesome.
mine. Yeah. At first, I thought that
I did actually just see cables.
I did too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought there was literally just a whole bunch of cables in there. Yeah,
That's my floor on a regular basis, so nothing wrong with that.
yes. Now the next one, I think, if we are correct, the next one is what you guys would like to hope for when you're a kid. Oh, bless his little cotton socks. Isn't that awesome?
Rocket Man.
Yeah. If he was a real synth head, he'd have like 10 pieces of wood all wrapped around him with the keyboards all over.
Yeah.
You can just imagine it. Okay, favourite meme of the week, people?
It's got to be the carpet for me.
Playing the wooden keyboard.
Carpet?
The keyboard was
Keyboard?
was mine.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely the
Chatties, tell us what your favourite meme is while we're at it. Robbie, what's yours?
I don't know. I want to go with my Akai affiliation, but no, I shan't. I'll go with the kid with the wooden keyboard, because that reminds me of when I was a young lad. I used to sling a tennis racket over my shoulder and pretend I was Paul McCartney.
Did you wear your white shorts when you're doing that?
Oh, man, you should have seen the
Just
lengths I
carpet
went
because
to.
everyone thinks I'm into carpet. So
You gonna go carpet? What are the chatties?
That's your own fault, that, Andy.
Big thank you to Wigoo there, sneaking that little chuff in for us. Thanks, matey. Cables, Sophie Music saying.
Carpets.
Akai butt phone? Akai butt phone. I'm just going to answer my butt phone. Excuse me while I get my butt phone. Yeah, carpet looks like the winner, I think, people. More votes for the other things if you want them to win. All right. Now, we do have news. Believe it or not, all this stuff happens with SmplTrek, and we do have to get on with the news. Because there is news. Not a lot, but there is. And I think there's even more since I put this show together. So I do apologise if I've missed anything out. But anyway, we have got news. We're starting with this thing. This is... I came across this by accident. This company is Japanese, and they're called Pharmasonic, and they make System 100 clone gear. And this thing came up in Modular Grid. When you search Modular Grid, shows the newest modules, bang, you find out these weird things. And this came up. It's called the 101. It's a full modular clone of the System 100 in eurorack format. So it's got, oscillators, VCF, VCAs, all that sort of stuff, envelope generator, all in there. It's $728. I've done Google, how much is yen into US dollars, so kill me if I'm wrong. But they do sell individual modules as well, these guys too. So I thought I'd bring this up to people because I thought these guys were quite interesting. Has anyone heard of Pharmasonic? I don't think anyone has. Maybe
these are the guys that make the card. I think Wagyu and I have the card for the RX-5. The Pharmasonic.
I was going to say, is it them?
Well, let's just have a look.
I was wondering if it was them.
I had to buy the kit because they stopped making them, so I have to do my own assembly.
Sounds like a chemical company, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is their website, and so if you go into, what did you say, RX5 USB? Is that it there?
Yeah.
So that's it there.
That's it.
Yeah.
I had the one on the right.
Same guys,
Bare board.
Yeah. Dude, they're cheap, aren't they? They are really cheap. So you can see here you've got they've obviously got some plans for .com stuff. I don't know if there's there's a whole bunch of PCBs for .com. System 700 gear. Wow. There you go. Some interesting stuff. That will be in the blog article if you guys want to go check that out once that's up. Usually about 12 hours after the show airs, you can definitely check that out. So Pharmasonic.jp if you're wondering, with a PH, that is. Pharmasonic with a PH. Start with that. Next, bang. Bzzzt. What about this? Alstaden, wave shaping oscillator. Gosh, I'm having a shocker.
That's for the hairy sine waves, right? The wave shading.
That's for the dog that's going to kill you after he listens to your music. Right, let's have a listen to it. All right, I think we get the idea. So it just makes a whole bunch of noise, fart sounds. No,
yeah, it's it's a rather uninspiring video.
That is
isn't
the
it?
best. That's like one of my demos. It's awesome.
It's not very dramatic.
No, there is some cool things about it. I should probably mention. So it is based on so ST Modular. They're based in Germany, so this is a DIY kit. But for those who don't like DIY, you can probably pick these up through outlets like Pusherman, who are in the UK. So they usually build the modules for you, and then you just pay a little bit extra for it being done for you. This is based on the Euphoria synthesizer that was released earlier this year. So if you want the oscillator that's based on that, it's a 16 HP module. The waves are obviously formed by a combination of diode clipping, and so you guys knew that, didn't you? And folding of the waveforms by adding mirror images of the upper and lower parts of the waveform, creating more high harmonics and interesting timbral variations. It also features an equalizer, which is unusual for an oscillator, actually. I have to agree. For sonic possibilities, don't know about the price. But like I said before, you should be able to pick these up through Pusherman as a full kit or fully built. So yeah, wave shaping, interesting sort of way to look at wave shaping, I would say. Anyone want to comment on that?
Depends how much it costs.
We don't know. Yeah,
it was a very buzzy sawtooth, which was really quite nice, if rather irritating to listen to in that demo.
Yeah.
It had loads of harmonics and stuff, and there was a nice sort of rumble when he switched it into a deep square. But so yeah, it's nice. And there's definitely a gold on black theme going on in Modular right now, isn't there? That seems to be a thing.
Yeah, maybe a bit of wishful thinking with the gold. Not sure about that though. It's not exactly the sort of business that you're going to be getting gold from. Yeah. So Andy, Synth Addict Mister. You just about collect all the modules in the world. What about this one for you?
I mean, I'm more picky now because HP is precious, right? I don't have a million cases. So,
Correct.
When they make these really big modules that don't really do that much, even though it's interesting, I tend not to. It has to like really kind of wow me, either be extreme or be something I just don't have at all. And in either case, it doesn't seem to be that compelling.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's a big module that doesn't do that much. So.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right. We shall move along, unless Robbie or Chris wants to add to it. I know you guys aren't massive Eurorack people, so don't worry.
Exactly.
We won't kill you. Chris has got a Eurorack.
I've got some semi-modular stuff.
Chris has got a semi.
Quick. You had to go there, didn't you?
I did.
I'd have to dig around in the manual and have a look at the functions on that before I decided whether it was worth it. But yeah, it's interesting. Wave shaping is always good. Nice sound.
I don't know why you get so embarrassed about that word, because me and Dave Best, we were going to do a duo, and we were going to call ourselves two middle-aged blokes with semis, basically, just to see what the reaction was.
Yeah, you might have had a lot of 60-year-old women turning up. Right, okay. So we should go to the next product. Well, this is not a new product, is it, people? This is an old product called the Plaits. By Modular Alstaden. But there's a new firmware that's come out. We thought they'd finished, hadn't we? They haven't. There's a massive, huge, significant update for this, and it's free for those who've got one, and any clones other than the Behringer clone. Any clones that actually has exactly the same chipset, the Behringer Brains one. Sorry, people that have got Behringer Brains, you are going to miss out. Unless Behringer decides to steal the code and mangle theirs, I'm not sure. However, this is what you're going to get from this. You're going to get a new frequency range selector with new modes, octaves, a frequency knob controls and adjusts the root note, and then the frequency knob transposes the root note up and down. So those who know about this module, it's got...
Thank heavens for that.
It's got a lot of patches in it, basically, and each patch, like those lights that you see in the middle, have a whole bunch of different things that you can do with the frequency, harmonics, timbre, and morph knob. And some of these new features are some really, really cool things. Like, for example, there's a whole bunch of new banks of synthesis models in here. You can get a classic wave shape with a filter. You can get 2-phase distortion and modulations. You can get 2-voice 6-operator FM synths with 32 presets. Robbie. You can get a 6-wave terrain... a wave terrain synthesis with continuous interpolation between 8 2D terrains. That's interesting. A string machine emulation with stereo filter and chorus. I'm looking forward to that. 4 variable square voices with chords for arpeggios. And then they've also added some fixes to it. So I'll tell you about the fixes in a sec. But just with that 6-operator FM, the transfer of the 32 custom patches are in DX7 SysX format. Dun, 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 dun. There we go, people. So, lately bass on your Plaits module, here we go. A couple of fixes and improvements. We won't need to go into those, but there's some reports of hysteresis in the quantizer and stuff like that. So yeah, that's been fixed. Anyway,
I'm glad about the tuning knob, the frequency knob, because that is a right royal pain in the bum, and because its range is absolutely massive. It's extraordinary, and you nudge it and you ain't going to get it back again very easily. So if they've got a way of sort of restricting it so that it's within an octave, or you can step through that's going to be amazing, because that's really my only bugbear about the Plaits. You just, and in the middle of doing a set, you don't know whether you've nudged it or not until you bring it in and it's out of tune, and you're thinking, oh, what? And that's a digital blooming module. It shouldn't be out of tune.
You can calibrate it.
Should be in tune. Should be in
tune.
Yeah, but it's like, just nudge. I must have just knocked it, and it only takes a little bit, and it's off, way off.
But it's seriously,
anyway, so
it is seriously a good module. If anyone is like, you can still get these in brand new. I'm talking about too. They're still stock in shops. They only just stopped making these. So this new firmware update, you can play strings and DX7s and all sorts of cool stuff through your eurorack. How cool is that?
Yeah, you get a lot
Robbie.
of different synth modules,
he doesn't care.
synthesis models in the Plaits, don't you, to play with? Yeah,
you do, and it's really packed with a whole bunch of stuff. I know people that have got multiple Plaits modules in their setup, so that's how good they are. Emily does.
I had the original braids and then the Plaits, and it did add some extra stuff braids didn't have. But the great thing about all the mutable stuff is they're all updatable with third-party guys tweaking all the time. So even when she stops submitting changes, there's tons of alternative firmwares all the time for all these things. So it's never going to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, we should move on. There is more news, and I don't know why that's not showing. Why is that not showing? You stupid computer. Where's my mouse gone? Okay. I want to show you this next graphic, but I don't know why it's not showing. Let's go backwards and press this button. Here we go. So we have shown this before, the Pro 800 on this show, obviously when Behringer announced that they were going to make this thing probably about 2 years ago, or maybe a year ago, I'm not sure. But the news is that this thing will ship now in April. Don't hold your breath. But it probably will. Why don't we have Why don't we have a look at this?
Analog polysynths should not cost the world, and you shouldn't need to pay to add extra voices. We give you 8 ultra affordable voices straight out of the box. Introducing the Behringer Pro 800. Let's travel back to 1982. A new synthesizer set the benchmark for studio connectivity. It was the very first instrument to ship with MIDI, an absolute game changer.
All right, yeah. Blah, 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 blah. All right, okay, so you guys have probably all seen this already, no doubt. It's all over social media. I haven't had a chance to watch your show, Robbie, from yesterday yet, but I'm sure you've mentioned it on there.
We did.
Look, let's talk about this one really important fact. This is an 8-voice analog polyphonic synthesizer in desktop format and it's going to be guide price $599 US. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Now, for those who rubbish Behringer, they can if they want, but that is some serious engineering. If they're able to punch that out of China or wherever it's coming from for that price, that's some serious engineering. Now, they have teamed up with this, the guy from Glee who did the mods on the original Pro 600, the Prophet 600 that is. And those mods that he did were actually really quite critical because first, we were talking about this in Discord during the week, the first thing is the Prophet 600 had a Z80 processor in it, and it had one of the worst envelope generators known to mankind because of it. They were about as slow as a turtle. Yeah, they were pretty bad. So he's fixed that, and obviously Behringer aren't going to put Z80s in this new thing, and they might, but they haven't. It's got TNZ processors or something in it, I believe. Anyway, so that the Glee mods are built into this, and if you guys want to know what they are if I can find my mouse, I'll show you guys the graphic again. There's a noise generator, which you can see just above the glide button, kind of in the middle. That's not on the original Prophet 600. There is an LFO with 6 waveform shapes. There was an LFO on the original Prophet 600, but it didn't have 6 waveform shapes. It has a 2-track polyphonic sequencer. It has a VCA overdrive, and I think that's probably about it. And also, Behringer have put, and this is the first time I've ever heard them say this, so I don't know how good this is going to be, but the whole panel apparently is MIDI implementable. So there's all the parameters that you can see on that panel are going to be, obviously they must have some sort of digital processing on this or whatever, but that's going to be, you're going to be able to access that through via MIDI CC, which is quite cool because usually they will just give you like analog controls and you're stuck with that, and I think that's a cool thing. Thoughts? Who's heard it? Who wants one? Chris, right? We're going to go Chris.
Yeah, I was poring over. I was nerding out as soon as I saw it. I wasn't actually aware that they were working on this. It's news to me completely. And then I went back and checked out the Prophet 600 just side by side, and I've noticed they've put bipolar envelope controls, whereas the original didn't have that, which is quite important.
Which is the Glee mod.
And then, yeah, is it another Glee? Oh, right. Yep. And it sounds like it's got velocity sensitivity. If you listen to the demo, I think maybe it's got velocity somewhere buried in the menus, which would be awesome. Yeah, so yeah, no, obviously Behringer have the detractors, but once you've got a clone that has all these mods in, and then it just takes it way beyond. It's got extra voices and all the extra features and the MIDI CCs, and it's nothing like a Prophet 600 really, is it, at the end of the day?
Well, they used to say it was Prophet 600 was a poor man's Prophet 5. That's what they used to say, and I remember them. I used to go to music shops, and they used to actually say those words, which I thought which was probably pretty brutal, right? Yeah. And the reason why they said it was purely because of the Z80 issues it had, and the envelope generator was terrible. But it also had a massively different filter as well. So people talk about this having sort of like a harsher filter, and maybe the Prophet 5 having probably a more frequency range in the filter. So you might get more sort of, harmonic content from the Prophet 5. I don't know what this is going to be like because the demo didn't really sort of go into that. So that could be interesting. What sort of filter have they put in this? Is it exactly the same as the Pro 600, or is it like a Prophet 5 filter? I don't know. They might have used a Curtis chip. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. Now, Robbie, I know you are a sequential person. You like sequential, right? You like them.
I do, but I don't own any.
I know. You're like me. You don't own any. I'm just interested to hear your thoughts because, like I said, I haven't watched yesterday's show.
Which one?
What was your thoughts on this?
my first thought when I heard the demo was that it sounds nice, but it didn't sound very sequentially. But then I kind of thought, well, maybe that's because it is a clone of the 600, which was like you said, poor man's Prophet 5, and maybe I'm just listening, wanting to hear a more of a Prophet 5 sound. I've not had a huge amount of experience with the 600, but look, all things aside, it's an 8-voice polyphonic analog synth for allegedly $599 I'll believe in it more when I see it and hear it in other people's hands to see what it can do. But end of the day, what I didn't like about this was, number one, where's Dan's hair gel? Okay, he seems to have run out of hair gel. Secondly, this whole thing.
They're on a budget now.
Yeah, clearly. The whole thing at the beginning of the video is, they're talking about sequential. They're showing Well, they're not actually mentioning sequential, but they're showing the sequential synths, and this kind of inference that you don't have to pay through the nose for 8-voice polyphonic analog. And in a lot of cases you do pay obviously considerably more than $599. But as Kent said last night, the build quality, is that going to be good? Hopefully yes, because a lot of the stuff they've done recently has been reasonably okay, and there doesn't seem to have been a whole bunch of people complaining about it. Look, it's interesting, and I think they might have decided to drop keyboards, as in let's just do everything in desktop modules now, because the UBXA fairly recently they showed a desktop module of that, and I'm just wondering if that's a way to keep the cost of these things down in a world where everything's going up. But it's all speculation, because we're still going to have to wait till April to see it or hear it properly, and have people who know what they're doing put it through their paces, and I'll reserve judgment till then. But look, I say it all the time. I just wish they'd take all of this and stick it into an original Behringer design and say, here is the new Behringer 8-voice polyphonic synthesizer, and not have to keep trading off other people's legacies. And it's not what they do, it's how they do it. I think is that how you put it last night, Ian? I think it wasn't me that said it, but
exactly that.
It's not what they do, it's how they go about the whole thing.
How they do it.
That's what kind of taints it for me.
Yeah,
but look, let's go for it. Yeah, let's see what it's like.
I want to pick up on one thing you said earlier in your comments, and that is that the sound of it didn't sound. You said it didn't sound like a sequential synth, and I think even in the old days, the 600 always had a bit of a muddy sound to it. I always thought it was kind of, because the Prophet 5 has that really sharp sound, and the brassy, that's really that's its sweet spot. Whereas I don't think this is going to have that brassy, perfect sort of Prophet 5 sound. So anyone thinking right now, hey, this might be a cheap way of getting a Prophet 5 sound, I think they're going to be disappointed, because it's not going to quite cut it.
How many people do you hear saying, "Oh, do you know, I wish I could have a Prophet 600 sound. I love that Prophet 600." Exactly, really, do they?
Yeah,
no one.
And I think again, if you're going to be doing clones, replicas, knockoffs, whatever you want to call them, surely you should be looking to implement as much new stuff as you can to enhance and to. So maybe they could have taken this opportunity. Call it the Pro 800 or Pro 600 or whatever it is. I mistakenly called it the Poly thing, and Andrew pulled me up on it last night. So sorry. But give it, give it some oomph, give it some of that more Prophet 5 sound. But look, it's an interesting one for them to go for, and I think everyone was hoping it might be the CS80 clone or the Jupiter 8 clone, although they did release some PCB images yesterday again in that stupid game of guess what we're building now sort of thing. But look, let's see what it's like. Let's hear it first in anger, and go from there.
exactly. All right, gents. Anyone else want to make a comment? I mean, this one would probably got most people talking. I think.
I mean, I'm not bothered about the analog versus digital stuff. I mean, if I was, if it does come out at that price at $599, I'd rather spend that money on a Mini Freak or a Hydra Synth Explorer. Something new rather than something that's not necessarily new.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there on that one. Actually, I mean, when this was first announced, we talked about it on here quite a long time ago, and I was thinking, it's almost a no-brainer. Brilliant, fantastic, what a great thing. The fact that they worked with the guy, the Glee mods, to put right the things that were not quite so good about the actual Prophet 600 is definitely a move in the right direction. And we know, those of us that have got a bundle of these things already, we know that the Behringer clones get pretty close. I got the Pro one, I've got the D, I've got the System 100 modular stuff, and it sounds great. It all sounds really good, and I can see no reason at all why this should be any different. And I actually think it's probably I think it's quite a good idea that they've not said we're cloning the Prophet 5, because you can go out and buy a Prophet 5. It would be too difficult. And you said, Prophet 600. Nobody's going out there saying, give me a Prophet 600. But actually, it was a lovely synth in its own right. Perhaps flawed. Perhaps that's one thing that made it interesting. But I just think, good. I'm glad that it's eventually going to see the light of day, and there will be people who go, actually, I quite fancy one of these. But yeah, I do concur with Ian now. Something like £500. I'm now thinking what I can get for my £500 and put it in here. That's basically it. And, no, I could, of course. I mean, I seriously could. I could take the Pro 1 out of this rack over here and put the Poly 800 in and have a polysynth in a rack. Now that's an interesting thought.
You could.
Chin.
You could. And don't forget, it's got a 2-track polyphonic sequencer in it as well. That's a pretty cool thing.
It's got some patch socket.
Yeah.
Oh heck! Now what have I done?
Chris, who's in the chat, Makeshifter, he mentioned why not just get a DeepMind 12 desktop module?
So is it for me? Sorry,
totally different character.
No, different Chris. He's Makeshifter in
different
the
Chris.
chat.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's surely. I mean, that's a different character. We know that was originally started life as a Juno 106 wannabe. It's more than that. Everybody that's ever played one knows it's more than that. And I think if they get part way towards the Prophet sound, because the Prophet 600 does have a Prophet sound, it's a sequential synth, and it does. If they get part way to that, I think it'll be lovely. It'll be a different character, and a nice compliment. Have them both together.
People that
get a DeepMind 6 and a
people that own Prophet 600s will say that you can definitely get some Prophet sounds out of it. So that there is absolutely no problem with that. It's just there are some definite Prophet sounds that you cannot get out of a Prophet 600 because there's a massive difference to the filter. Like I said, if you could modify that filter, what maybe Behringer should have done is put a filter option in there like they did with the ARP 2600. So you could switch between two different filters. I know that would have meant they would have had to have put 16 filters in it, or it's a lot of filters, right? But how many polyphonic synths, analog polyphonic synths, are out there with switchable filters? That would have made it pretty, in pretty rare company. There are a few, but not many.
Korg also did that with the MS-20 ratio with the switchable filters. So.
Yeah. They're saying in their video, hey, look at us, we're going to build some more synths now. And they also, by the way, they were also nodding towards hybrids. So do watch that space. They are definitely going to be doing hybrid stuff, which means they are looking towards probably digital oscillators, maybe FPGA type stuff, that sort of world, and maybe, having the signal path coming out the back analog with filters and things like that. So just watch that space, because I know that they definitely do have something on the cards that will probably make you smile a bit, Robbie, because I know you're wanting to see them do something of their own. They have done a few things already, which I thought they did a great job of the Deep Mind. I thought they did a great
Neutron's
job
great.
of the Neutron, and the new thing that's coming out, the Proton, will be just even better. It's like the Neutron Mark II, right? I think they did some good jobs with some of the other stuff they've done. So, you know, they've got all this stuff. They've played with all this old retro vintage gear. Surely by now they should have enough skin in the game and enough engineers with enough knowledge to go, right, we know it all. Let's have a crack at our own stuff. That should be where they're at now. They probably are. Who knows?
I think though, for the money though and the features, the 800 is a pretty good thing to get. I mean, I'm not probably going to get one anytime soon. I already have a very cool 8-voice desktop synth, so
yeah.
Tetris polychain.
They were really good value in the day. I actually remember.
And I do have
getting close to buying one.
I do have an actual sequential synth, but it's an old kind of a knockoff. The old Max. It's basically a reduced 6-track.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome. Yeah.
Though. Oh, mate.
And there's an iPad app you can program the shit out of it.
They're worth a fortune. Yeah, those things. Hold on to that. Yeah.
I used to own a multi-track. Sequential multi-track, but it went wrong, and I took it back to Music Ground in Doncaster and swapped it for the DW6000. Regrets.
I want to know if does Andy have the TARDIS underneath his legs there or something? Because he just keeps pulling gear out every day.
Pulling that out of his ass.
How about this shit?
Well, when Robbie started talking, I went off camera to grab this. This is another room. So.
Okay. That's your excuse. He's got a cupboard.
I do that when Robbie started talking. Oh, sorry, Robbie. Sorry.
Oh, not because he was talking, because it gave me time to get it. So.
That's brilliant. Okay, so that's it for the news. I know there was some more that came out. Honestly, guys, I just did not have the time to put the show together today. It was a big show to put together. I actually spent probably most of my free time this week playing with the SmplTrek, and rightly so. When you get a new bit of gear, you got to give it some love. I'm going to be playing with it some more next week as well. Absolutely, I'm enjoying it. By the way, I think there's something wrong with the SD card. It's still, there's definitely something not happening on that. So that's going to have to go back to the shop.
Now try formatting in your computer first as a fat.
Drive. Fat and then have another go.
I'll give that a rock and roll. I'm not going to do that during the show because you just never know what might crash, right? So we'll do that later. We need to keep going because there's another segment, and it's the third one, which is this one. We haven't done this for a little while, I feel. Well, I remember when I first started doing this segment, it was kind of passionate for me to show gear that was scam, right? Which is why we had the scammy part of it. But and I know lately we haven't been getting a lot. But here's one. Manuals I found one. This is US dollars, by the way.
Me anymore.
Yeah. By the way, and you can ask Ian because he's here. You can go and print the ARP 2600 user manual from the Korg website for free.
For free.
I mean, the price of paper.
As are all of the manuals.
Yeah. So you can either buy this for $1,200 or print it for free. I'll let you be the judge. Anyway.
It's a laugh, isn't it?
But this has been big on eBay for a long time. Manuals are very pricey sometimes.
They are, yeah. They are. If you want an original, if you're one of those people. Now, this one got people on social media angry because the person selling this is claiming that this is from Giorgio Moroder, and it's definitely not. It is definitely not.
He looked at it once, maybe. Is that?
Maybe he owned one. That's about as
Somebody
close as you're
drove
going to
past
get.
the studio holding it like that.
Yeah. But I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's an LM1. They're pretty cool. They're vintage gear. You know, they're sought after, but they're not nearly $55,000 US.
Check out the price of the Fairlight and the DX1 that this seller, whoever they are taking the right.
Yeah, the P155. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, and then on more sort of happier notes, we've got some nice auctions to show you guys. So I did give you some scammy stuff for all the people that whinge that I don't give you enough scammy stuff. There you go. Nice stuff. Where's me button? There. Bang. First one I thought you'd be interested in, the live auction. The Emu vintage keys. Do you guys remember these? Rack mount stuff is so cheap at the moment. That is actually a really cool synth. for $350 bucks. That's a really cool thing to get. And tone tweakers are, they feature quite regularly with gear, so they're good bunch of keys.
To be fair, that should be the price for the Vintage Pro, but now everything's gone up. So.
Yeah, true. But I know what you're like, Andy. You're a real bargain hunter, so you know your prices. But I still think that's a pretty decent price, to be honest.
It's not bad. I mean, everything's gone up, so
yeah. All right.
Problem is you can't change the ROMs, and it's a fixed unit.
Now, do you guys remember early in the days of this show, we used to do the graph for SH101s in Price Watch? We used to do the graphs, and we used to show how much the SH101. We haven't looked at the price of an SH101 for ages. Well, guess what? This one is real. This is not a scammy price. This is Australian dollars, so halve it for pounds. But this one has got the original box. It's got the mod arm on it as well, which is also something that you don't see that often.
It's red.
It's red, yeah.
Yeah, the red one's more
plays faster.
They're always priced, yeah.
Plays better, goes faster.
And the blue even more so.
Yes.
It's in pretty good condition. I mean, and that's really important to see for anyone who's on an SH101.
No corrosion, that's amazing.
No corrosion in the battery thing. Even the serial number.
It's funny, the batteries are on top. That's funny.
Yeah. But look at the box.
Panel's got a little clip panel.
Look at the box. Hey, look at the marketing in those days. Amazing. Yeah, we've seen you, mate. Anyway, that is the SH101, so rush out and buy that. Links will all be to all these auctions in the blog article after the show, as usual. One more to go, and this one I did just because Robbie's come on the show, because I know he loves this stuff. Here you go, mate. This is Australian dollars, so halve it for pounds. A DX5, correction. Synthesizer with the 3 ROM cartridges. And I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see better.
That's cheap, right? Isn't that cheap?
This isn't dodgy at all. This is a normal price. I don't know, Robbie, you may have different opinions about this, but it looks to be in pretty good condition.
Seems to be the market value around anything between $3,000 and $5,000 for one of these days, which just makes me think that I got the absolute bargain of the millennium when I bought my one. But these are great machines. It's a DX1 with just a slightly inferior keyboard, but still a great keyboard. And there's slightly less buttons on it, but the sound is just amazing.
It's got a dent.
Don't worry about that. You can buy end cheeks from Robert Sitek.
Come fix it, Kent. You can fix that little dent for us, Kent. He's in the chat before. Oh, it's got another dent. It's dents everywhere. More dents than...
Those end cheeks are basically sort of plastic coated MDF. So you can buy some replacement wood end cheeks. That's what I've got on my DX5 with some Robert Sitek end cheeks. Just make it look a little classier. But,
and just educate me, the difference between a DX5... I know you said it's a DX1 with an inferior keyboard, but the difference between a DX5 and a DX7 is... Just for
so there are kind of 4 key differences. Number one is the keyboard mechanism. So on a DX5, it's a 76 note semi-weighted, same action as the DX7, whereas the DX1 is a 73 wooden weighted keyboard with full length keys. Secondly, the aftertouch on the DX5 is channel. On a DX1, it's poly aftertouch. You've got fewer fewer direct function buttons and displays on the DX5 than you do on the DX1. And I'm just trying to think now. I think that's pretty much it. There's usually of course there's the fact that the DX1 is in the DX5 and the DX1 are both 32 note polyphonic by Timbrel. It's exactly the same engine inside the 5 as it is in the 1, and they use the same high quality 12-bit DACs compared to so it's a cleaner, better sounding than DX7, but they're the main differences. But essentially, the DX5 was created to be able to sell that concept a lot more cheaply than the DX1s, which it did, and it found its way into lots of studios. New Order had one, Lots of people. Yeah, they're great. They're great machines.
So you guys are probably noticing I'm pausing on this. This was bought in 1985. They've got the original receipt, and you can see the price was $2,700, right? So if anyone is good quickly at their calculator, want us to do a inflation calculation on $2,700 US to see what it would be worth today if you spent $2,700 in 1985, what would that be in today's money? Someone want to do that and chuck it in chat? And we go back to the auction, which was, what was it, 7,700 Aussie dollars. So we can just quickly do that into US, 7,770 will do. AUD to USD. 5,000. Let's just say 5,000 US.
When I said double the polyphony, Robbie, I just meant it's basically double the DX7. So it's two DX7s essentially, isn't it, in a box?
Yeah. So what you get is if you choose two voices, you get 16. You get 32 note polyphony, but it's two engines playing the same sound, so you're layered. Or you can split it, so you can have 16 voices of polyphony on the left and 16 on the right, playing two different sounds. And then you've got individual outputs at the back. And again, one of the benefits of the 5 and the 1 over the 7 is that you've got balanced TRS and balanced XLRs as well as the TRS, so you get really good, a good signal out of the back of them as well, and lots of pedal control.
I did a quick Google on the amortization of 2,785 to today. It's a couple of different results, but let's go with the top one. It's converted to US dollars for today. The cumulative price change is 176%, $7,478 US would be the equivalent if you were using that money today. So that is, my friends, half price almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go. When you think of it that way, it's quite sensible. So, Robbie, I know you're thinking that that's expensive compared to what you've spent in the past.
Oh yeah, I was lucky.
But then again, I bought my DX7 too for $300 Australian, and they're worth over $1,000 Australian now. So that's tripled its value just in a couple of years. So
they're all going up. I mean, DX7, Mark 1s are going up, Mark 2s, the TX modules. I got in and got a whole bunch of stuff, just at the right time, just before they started going up. And, the story behind the DX5 I'll tell privately, but, it's an absolute bargain. And even back then it was a bargain, but even now it's just like, wow. But it's such a good synth for the money. FS1R is another FM, Yamaha FM synth that seemed to be just going up. Crazy money.
Indeed. Well, we've got through all the segments, and we've got through SmplTrek. We forgot to wear party hats, I thought. We were kind of not quite... we weren't
I was
quite
expecting
there
more.
with the party.
Expecting more beer.
Yeah,
More
the
beer.
alcohol was...
It was a bit crap, wasn't it? We didn't have anyone serving alcohol. But yeah, hopefully, and I really appreciate Chris coming on because why do I keep pressing that button? Stop pressing that button. Why do I keep pressing that button? Chris, we really appreciate you coming on. I know, it was short notice. It was cross fingers and hope he comes on, and it happened to work for me. Robbie, it was also awesome having you on, mate. Too.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been good. And likewise for the gentlemen who are regulars as well, Mr. Hatman, Mr. Ian, and Mr. Andrew.
I'll put my hat back on now and just he's taking it.
Now next week is Saturday the 17th. So if my maths is correct, that would be the pre-Christmas show, I believe, because the Christmas will be on the Sunday, isn't it? This year, isn't it? Is that correct?
That's right.
This Sunday, so
yeah.
I'm not here next week because I'm helping a child. Well, my youngest move into his house next Saturday. So
yep.
I'll be Mr. Shifter.
So anyone who wants to take Ian's spot, that's more than welcome for anyone to jump in there. So we'll do a Christmas show. We've done 3 of them already. This will be my 4th, I think, 3rd or 4th. I can't remember now. So yeah, bring your Santa hats or whatever you want to do. we'll make it as Christmassy as we can. I don't know. Last year I played around with the pads on the Akai Force and made it look like a Christmas tree. I know, I'll do something stupid. So there's
I'll have to find a Krampus mask.
Krampus mask. Oh yeah. I spent today putting some Christmas lights out on our fence out the front here with my daughter because I thought, I'm not putting Christmas lights up this year if I have to plug them into a PowerPoint and then I have every friggin' day of the week I have to run out, unplug it, plug it in, unplug it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to go through that crap. So I went to the hardware store and they've got these nice solar power ones now that literally, and Australia is perfect because we don't have a problem.
Good job, you've got plenty of sun.
Yeah.
So it's
all automatic. You literally just hang them on your fence and let the sun do the work, and at night it knows it's night time and it automatically turns on, and then it turns itself off after about 6 hours, so they're not on at like freaking 2 in the morning and pissing your neighbours off. It's really good. So I did that today.
Can I ask you, do you go out and buy loads of sort of like fake snow and spray snow, fake snow on your windows and things like that?
We don't like snow. We don't want snow. Aussie Christmases are board shorts and thongs. And for those who live in America, we're not talking about G-strings.
Which ones do you have,
We're talking about flip-flops.
yeah.
I've got shorts on right now.
We call them thongs when I was a kid too, the sandals.
Yeah. So
that's right, yeah.
But we go to the beach.
Cool.
I went to the beach today.
Translate, do they?
That's what we do. We go to the beach at Christmas. We have barbecues. We have cold beer, ice cold beer. That is not like none of this bloody room temperature crap that you guys drink in the UK.
About -5.
Don't worry, I've already been there. I know it's actually pretty cool. I remember going to Newcastle and drinking their brown ale once, and it was room temperature, and it was absolutely delicious. So
it's terrible, his brown ale.
I don't mind it. It was pretty good. But yeah, when it's 40 degrees Celsius, you want to have a nice cold beer. Yeah. One day come down. If you guys get some money in your budget, come down to Australia for Christmas. It's actually a cool thing to have Christmas in summer, and you go out on the beach and you get a suntan, you go for a swim, go on a surfboard, have a cold beer. It's actually a really surreal thing. If you've lived your life in the northern hemisphere and every Christmas has been bitterly cold and your testicles have shriveled up to next to nothing. Mine are absolutely quite happy right now, just to let you know.
It's not that warm in here.
Anyway, I do want to quickly mention where is it? A big thank you to, if you get to do this in a few weeks, a big thank you to the Patreons. There's a huge list here, you can see. There it is, it's finished already. And my channel members, which I probably need to update, by the way. It's been a couple of weeks since I've touched this. But big thank you to all those people. And also a massive big thank you to our sponsor for Name That Synth segment, which we haven't done for a bit because no one wants to send videos in. Anyway, it is important that you guys sponsor the show because, without it, I can't afford to buy thongs and board shorts and beer. No, no, it's greatly appreciated. There are costs running this thing. Just as Robbie's show, it's got costs running it. We've got internet connections. We've got subscriptions that we've got to pay for. So it all goes to a good cause. And I bankroll most of that stuff. Don't tell the wife. Anyway. Anyone want to say some quick plugs? Ian, you've got a new album. We'll start with you. Quick plug again for your album.
Okay, yeah. New album out. It's on Bandcamp. I can't remember what I've called it now. The Trip Hop Christmas album.
What's it under? Is it under your name?
Yeah, it's under Ian J. Cole.
Okay, cool. Let's bring it up.
So you just put that into Google, you'll find it on Bandcamp. It's free. I'll pay what you like. So, and I think the best track is it's the singing. I can't even remember what I called it now. It's, where is it? Oh, there it is. Yes, Trip Hop. That's the one. Yeah. So yes, the singing ball of joy is wonderful.
Wow, awesome! All right, I'm definitely going to be checking that out. Yeah. I'll paste a link into chat right now for that one. That one's easy to do. And you won't be here next week, Ian. So
no, I won't be.
Commiserations for that. So it's ianjcole.bandcamp.com. That's all right. No problem at all, mate. Yep. No problem. Let's put that in here. Okay. Anyone else want to announce anything? Ian J. Cole.
I'd like to give our Grace and Mine Hardware Jams Volume 2 another little plug. That's a collection of the tracks which we've done for Hardware Jams.
It's Andy and Grace, isn't it?
Done for Andy and Grace on Bandcamp. Yeah,
there it is.
But Andy and Grace is one word.
Yeah.
So that's available. Again, it's a pay what you want sort of thing. Yeah, they're there. That's the nice red one. All the artwork and everything, all done by Grace, because she's right proper clever with that sort of stuff. So yeah, like I said, it's pay what you want or download it for free. It's absolutely fine.
And that's just Andy and Grace, one word, at .bandcamp.com. So I'll do that in again. I'm typing this manually, so I hope I don't screw it up. Okay, that should work. Beautiful. And Robbie and Chris, anything you guys want to add? Any free plugs to your personal stuff? I know, Chris, you've got your stuff happening. So outside of Sonicware, anything that's happening for you?
Not immediately. I've got Sonicware work to do this weekend. I've got a Lo-Fi 12 tutorial video to make, so that's something I'm working on. And then film tracky stuff in the new year, I think. Yeah. That's about it. Nothing to really...
stuff. Nice. Yeah. You're doing well, mate. You're doing well. Excellent.
Thank you.
Good.
Cheers.
Good to see. And Robbie, plug the ProSynth network. Of course, do that. But also,
so every Friday.
Anything else you want to plug? Because you also have a day job and a life and stuff outside of ProSynth.
Yeah, so obviously ProSynth Network every Friday, 7 p.m. Please come along. We've got a couple more shows before Christmas, so we'll fill those with some merriment or something. But I can't say who, and I can't say exactly when, but on Tuesday morning UK time, there's going to be a new SOS podcast that I did with a very good friend of mine that is my Christmas treat for you all, because the guy's an absolute legend and you'll love it. So yeah, just look out for Sound on Sound podcasts on Tuesday morning UK time. It's a doozy.
Oh, good. Awesome. Yeah, they're good.
Cool.
I've enjoyed the ones that I've listened to in the past, so you do a good job.
Thank you.
Do a good job. Also, quick mention to the chatties. Big thank you to the chatties who, like I said, it warms my heart. I'm not joking when I say this. It warms my heart to see some of you people in the chat room who have been here since, easily my first stream, which is 188 streams ago, mind you. So well done. Pat yourself on the back for putting up with me for that long. You did well. Don't forget though. Please do give a thumbs up and a like in the YouTube video for the guests. You don't have to do it for me. I know you hate me, but do it for the guests because they do check things like that, and it's kind of nice that they they feel appreciative when they see that. So please do that, at least for them, especially Chris for doing all the awesome work and fielding some of those. We gave him some curly questions. Let's put it there. Yeah. We threw them at him. Yeah, he was hitting them off.
He's a good lad.
He was like Brian Lara, wasn't he? With all the
he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Who's Brian Lara? I know who Brian Lara is.
You know who Brian Lara is.
Even I know. I don't do sport. I don't know who that is.
He's a commentator now. Yeah. Have you noticed that? He's been commentating. It's been quite good, actually. He's been cracking a few funnies. Yeah, I don't mind him. Now, England in the World Cup. I'm going to be going for England. So that's happening in a couple of hours, I believe. So
Morocco leading Portugal 1-0.
Yeah, and interesting to see Brazil getting knocked out by Croatia. Yes. Wasn't that interesting? Yeah, well, next door to Italy, isn't it, Robbie? Next door.
Shame about the Aussies, but hey, never mind.
Shame about the Aussies, but do understand that's the furthest we have got ever. I know we've been to the second stage before, but we've never scored a goal in the second stage. Well, we scored a goal, so we just, maybe by the year 3000 we actually might win a World Cup, but somewhere along those, I look at it this way. Look, what are there? 16 teams at the moment in the knockout rounds. So, Australia is one of the top 16 teams in the world. That's the way I look at it. That's not a bad thing to look at.
the next World Cup, they're expanding the finals from, is it 32 to 48 teams?
Yeah, I heard that.
In the actual finals. So
yeah, it's going to be insane.
It'll be fun. But you know, Australia have got a good track record of good players. They just don't seem to have a consistent bunch of, you know, a squad. So, you know, every era has one or two, you know, great Aussie players, but
Harry Kewell comes to mind.
Yeah, Kewell, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he was
but
Chelsea bloke, wasn't
he? I reckon if you guys get to host it, that could be a real big boost.
Well, we're hosting the women's next year. We're hosting the Women's World Cup.
Cool.
And as you guys probably know, we've got one of the best women's soccer/football player in the world, and her name is Sam Kerr. She's an absolute ripper. She's actually the brother of a famous football player here in Australia anyway. So great sporting family, and you know, she plays for Chelsea, if you're wondering, if you want to check her out. Yeah, she's playing right now for Chelsea. Yeah. So I'm not a Chelsea person myself, so nothing against that, but go Liverpool. Anyway, we should finish off. We should finish off the show. Many thanks to everybody for being part of it. Chris, awesome with the sample track. Make sure you pass on my congratulations to
Thanks, Chris.
The people at Sonic Web, because I'm actually really impressed with this. Even with that that SD card thing, it actually stopped after a while, and it said it's sitting there on the screen. I can show you. It hasn't worked, but so it didn't crash. It just took forever, but there it's sitting there. So it's literally, I can still go back to the menu. It says no card, but it didn't crash. So the guys have put some really good programming in it, and yeah. Brooksy, I hope you get to have a little bit more of a play with yours, and same with you, Andy.
Yep.
You know, get
to play with an SD card from somewhere. I'll run out.
Yeah, don't get that one.
Jump on the
do not get that.
Jump on the jam this weekend. It's a pirate themed thing, so if you guys like pirate themed music, it's gonna be fun. My friend's radio show is Cap'n Jack. He was calling me Sea Shanty Addict, so.
Yeah. That one worked and the other one didn't. So there you go. If that helps anyone.
They're both SanDisk, are they?
They're both SanDisk, but one was kind of like an extreme. I don't know what you call it. Video.
Well, I've got the same one. I've got exactly the same one as you, Ranz. The Ultra. Was the extreme. Yeah, the 120 megabit per second version, and it works absolutely fine. So I reckon if you format that in your computer as a FAT format and then do it again, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll have a play with the computer. No probs. Right. And on that hairy note, wave goodbye, everyone. We're finished for the day. Go play with your families.
Cheers, Chris. Cheers, Robbie.
See you
later. Have a great weekend.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.